What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico. It's Rico and Bot live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Tuesday night. And Rico, it's not just any Tuesday night. It's the Tuesday night of the first day of mandatory mini camp in the books for the Buffalo Bills. So much to dive into this evening. James Cook in attendance. A lot to talk about there. A new linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. We'll dive into that. Josh Allen, a married man, he sits down with the media. We'll talk about that as well. Haven't been on in a bit, so we'll discuss Aaron Rodgers staying in the AFC, but joining a new squad. So plenty to discuss this evening. But Rico, my brother, how you doing? You're mobile with it, live from the hotel room.
We are live from Toronto, Canada. Yeah, we're in the T-Dot. I'm here for some training. So I'm getting some my certification to start delivering more training for what I do on my side, my side gig, my main gig. But anyway, we here now, and if you guys like the hotel vibes, the HD is looking crisp right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So we here now, baby. We here now, man. What's good, man? What's happening? We got things to talk about. NFL is just around the corner. You feel it. It's there, but it's not there. And my boy James Cook is here, and he's about his money. He's about his money. Let's talk about James Cook and James Cook being present. And let me ask you this: what's the look? Is it a good look for James Cook, for him personally, to be there? Is he losing ground by showing up and just weakening his stance? What are your thoughts on James Cook being present in camp?
Man, there's a ton to break down here when it comes to the James Cook situation, as there has been all offseason. So we'll take it piece by piece here.
Yep.
But you asked me if, him being there is, like, what does that mean, essentially, right? Yep. And to me, is he playing this right? I think James Cook is playing this perfectly. He is playing this exactly how I would have played it myself. And if I were in charge of kind of leading the way for him, or kind of giving him advice on what I would do or what he should do, it would be exactly this. I looked at James Cook's situation going into the offseason, and I've been on record for the longest time now saying that I felt that he was about a year early to the day, basically, of coming out and sort of publicly demanding a new contract. The way that teams look at the running back position, looking at James Cook's season last year and how it's not quite the same as the years prior. It was a bit of an outlier in terms of how great he was, especially when it came to the amount of touchdowns. When you look at the amount of money he wants and what the market is currently at for running backs at the top of the pyramid there, it did feel like the Bills had all the leverage. It still feels that way. And it didn't feel like there was any incentive for being in company to get a deal done now. And when you're looking at James Cook's situation as it currently stands, going into the final year of his rookie deal, owed about $5 million. You look at this mandatory minicamp period here. If he were to have skipped it, Rico, he would have accrued a little over $100,000 in fines. Now, if you're Josh Allen and you're making $58 million a year, if you're in the middle of a contract negotiation, you're wiping off a $100,000 fine like it's couch cushion money. But when you're James Cook and your rookie deal looking to get paid $100,000 on a $5 million contract before taxes, of course, that's no joke. And he made it known today when he was asked, why are you here? He goes, I like my money. That's why I'm here. And some people might look at that and be like, I don't really like that answer. It's 100% the right answer. It's the honest answer. Everybody knows that's why he's here. And that to me is why this is the right play by James Cook. If he were to have not attended mandatory minicamp, Rico, he would have basically have just burned $100,000 for absolutely nothing. It would not have changed Brandon Beane's mind one way or the other. There was not going to be a contract put in place prior to training camp just because James Cook held out of a couple of practices in June. And if you were to continue down this road and go into training camp and hold out continuously, well, then, of course, that $100,000 gets far bigger, and it gets bigger and bigger as the days go on, to the point where James Cook's in the red over this situation. He's in the red trying to get into the green. So it makes a ton of sense why he's there. And I got to give him all the credit in the world, Rico, for not only showing up, but for fully participating. I had thought he would show up, but kind of do a hold in where he would kind of be there, but not be there. Okay. Kudos to James Cook for showing up and saying, I'm here. And because I'm here, I'm going to give my full effort while I'm here because my teammates deserve that. I love the way James Cook's handling this. How about you? What's your initial takeaway, James Cook being at mandatory minicamp?
Listen, I was on board with James Cook standing on business. And because if you feel you're worth something, stand on it. But here's the difference. You're not a first-round draft pick. You're not a guy that is transcending the game. So you got to play your part and you got to play it smart. So I understood where he was coming at. But then when you looked at the bigger picture, bro, you didn't have the leverage. You did not have the leverage and you overplayed your hand. And when he overplayed his hand, he got the fan base against him. And this is a big one for me. I don't know how you feel about this, but I was discussing this earlier today, I think with Pierre, and I was saying to him, hey, man, when it comes to this James Cook situation, I understand why he's standing on business. You got to stand on business because money is involved in this. But when the fan base is behind you, you have a soft spot for your sports team. But when people are going through contract talks, this is when you start to hear all the naysayers, the haters, the we don't need Cook, he's not as good as he's supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have my thoughts on Cook. I think he's a damn good running back, but I think he overplayed his hand. But in this case, him looking at this contract situation and not wanting to lose money, I totally get it because now it's strictly business. And when he saw all the people saying, hey, man, Ray Davis around the corner, boy, oh, you better not do this or you don't have the leverage. He's like, I'm going to stay. Not only am I going to show up to camp, I'm going to make sure that I bust my tail. And when it comes for me to get paid, not only am I going to stand on my 15 mil, I might even ask for more. But this is where whether Bean says, you know what, you're too rich for my blood, you're going to have to walk. I think it was a good move for him, regardless of the fact, because now you have a chance to really ante up and get your money's worth. And this is going to be the year you have to do it. You really got to bust your tail. So I'm glad he showed up. But more importantly, you showed up for your teammates. Your boys want you there. Coach wants you there. Josh wants you there. Josh is happy as a pig of shit that he's there. So you love to see that, you know what, he put his pride aside and said, hey, man, not only do I not want to lose my money, but there's a goal at hand. We want to win. So if we're going to win, I got to be here. I got to be there for my teammates. I got to be there for my quarterback. I got to be there for this offense. I got to be there for this team. Regardless of how the fans feel about me, got to show out. And I'm glad he showed up. Shows a bit of maturity. And you just never know. Maybe that little bit of maturity is what Brandon Beane might say, you know what, I changed my mind. Maybe I will give you a deal. Now, that's a whole nother ballgame. But I'm glad to see that he's put his pride aside and said, this is for the team. I'm here. Let's roll. Let's get it going. So we need everybody on board, man. If we're trying to make a run and get to the Super Bowl, you need everybody on board. So I'm big on that. Big respect to James Cook showing out and putting his pride aside. Love it.
And he said that himself. He was flat out asked by a reporter if he'll be in attendance for training camp. And I think we could have put two and two together. If he's in attendance for the mini camp, he's going to be in attendance for the training camp. Far more fines down the line, of course, if you miss training camp. So it was easy to come to the conclusion that him being there today meant he'd be there during training camp. But when he was asked if he'd be there, he took a different approach to kind of coincide with, of course, him looking for the money. He said that he's going to be at training camp because in order to win a Super Bowl, in order to have a winning season, he's got to be out there with his teammates. I think he knows exactly what the situation entails right now. And I'm glad he does, because there was a point in time where I wasn't sure if he was getting the right advice or if he was going to play this right. There was a world where I could have seen Cook going a different avenue here. And I really didn't want him to do it, not just because of, you know, being a Bills, from the side of being a Bills fan where you obviously want him there. Completely remove that from the situation. I didn't want him to, you know, not show up or kind of pull something out of the ordinary, because it was only going to negatively affect him. Like you mentioned, the Bills have all the leverage here. I didn't see a single scenario where James Cook wins, either holding out, not showing up to certain stuff, or, you know, going on a media tour and blasting the organization, or trying to, you know, put Brandon Beane over the fire to get money out of him or whatever. I just never saw him winning in that situation. And it looks like he's come to the conclusion that he knows I'm going to have to go into this year playing without a contract, and I'm going to earn every dollar that comes my way following this year if I perform like I did last year, which was unarguably a top 5 running back. I'm going to get paid, whether it's by Brandon Beane or a GM of another organization. He knows that. So it's in his best interest, not only financially, but of course for his career, to go out there and not only show up, but ball out, because the better he plays, the more money he's going to get paid, whether it's the Bills or somebody else. If James Cook goes out and has 1,000+ yards again and is damn near leading the league again in touchdowns, there is going to be a team that pays him. It may not be the Bills, but it certainly will be somebody. So for his sake, putting myself in his shoes, I'm glad to see him approach this situation the way that he is, because I think it's the exact right way to do it for him and his just, his personal situation financially and of course career. I think he's putting himself in a really good spot here, and I think he's setting himself up for success not only now but of course in the future here as well.
Well, you love to see it, because now that he's back, now that you can get a great idea of what the team's going to look like with Josh and Josh coming back from honeymoon and all that good stuff. Now it's time to focus. Now here's something. Could he? It wouldn't make any sense, but could you see a scenario where he's like, guys, I'm showing up to show respect. Will you guys show me respect by opening up the talks again to working on a contract before training camp or the season? Or do you think Brandon Beane standing on business saying, no, I meant what I said. Let this league year play out. Next year, let's talk about it. Or could there be, now that you've come and kind of softened your stance, maybe I'll soften my stance and maybe we can renegotiate something? What are your thoughts on Brandon Beane potentially going against what he originally said and maybe trying to open some talks up?
I think Brandon Beane would love to have James Cook under contract for the right price. I don't think Brandon Beane's sitting there saying, there is no scenario where I put pen to paper on James Cook's second contract. That's not how I see it. If Brandon Beane can find a middle ground with James Cook, I think he'd love to have him. Why would you not want to retain a top talent at the position that you drafted in the second round and brought up? You'd love to do that, but you have to be able to do it in a financially responsible way. Brandon Beane has been phenomenal at retaining guys in a financially responsible way, and we know he's not going to shy away from that just because James Cook's coming off of a killer season. But you're bringing up a great point here, and this is where I kind of want to dive into the nuances of the press conference that James Cook had today. I can't tell how much of this is just the fact that James Cook's a shy guy and you really don't get a whole lot out of him when he talks. I can't tell how much of it is that or how much is there to be read into that is actually of substance. I don't know. I might be putting my tinfoil hat on here a little bit, but
put it on. Let's hear it. Let me hear your thought process.
There were just a couple of things that he said that kind of had me raise my eyebrow in one of two ways. It was kind of like going in different directions, right? So he says, I like my money. That's why I'm here. And like I had just mentioned, that's the honest answer. Everyone knows that's why he's there. That's why I have no problem with him answering that question that way. No need to lie. Everybody knows he's there because he would get fined over $100,000 on a $5 million contract. There's no reason to light that money on fire. So he doesn't need to lie. I respect the answer. But then he also goes on to say that I'm going to participate in minicamp and training camp because, my teammates need me. I'm a leader. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. So you're getting both there. He could easily just say, I'm going to be there, but I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take it light. Plenty of guys have done that in the past, and I wouldn't knock him for doing that, but that doesn't seem to be the approach that he's taking. Now you have to ask yourself, well, why is he taking that approach? And it could be two ways, right? One, like we just mentioned, hey, it's in my best interest to show up and go, all the way out, go hard, even during practice, to show whoever is going to pay me, whether it's Beane or another team, that I'm ready to go. You're going to be getting my best at all times. Or another way you could look at it could be, hey, there's talks going on behind the scenes here. I'm showing up to make sure that those talks continue to go in the right direction. He was asked, Rico, how the communication's been this offseason between Beane and McDermott and the powers that be.
Yep.
And this is a quote from him. He said the communication has been great. And he says, he kind of said, we talk about what we talk about. But he said the communication has been great. I think if you were to have not heard him say that, wouldn't you think the communication wouldn't be all that great based on how public it's been, the contract situation, him wanting a certain amount of money and it coming from the Bills end of things that they're really not willing to pony up that amount of money and they're not really close on a contract? That's where my eyebrows were kind of raised, where I'm like, the communication's great. Why would he lie? He's got no reason to lie here, because even though the Bills have the leverage currently, he'll have the leverage this time next year if he plays well. No reason to lie there. If the communication is great, Rico, what does that mean? Does that mean at the very least, and they still could be far away from a contract, but does that at least mean, Rico, there's been some sort of progress? Either Cook is looking at it and saying, I get it, I'd be willing to take a little less, or Bean's looking at it and saying, I get it, I'd be willing to pony up a little more.
Right.
You hear him say that, Rico. Am I reading too much into it? Or do you think there's at least a little something there for him saying, hey, the communication this offseason has been great?
One thing to show you.
Okay.
That's it. It's right there. It's right there. This is just business. And here's the thing. I'm so glad that you said that. Yeah, there hasn't been anything going on negatively between him and management. That's true. He also said in the same, maybe a sentence later, it's business.
Yep.
It's absolutely business. And the fact of the matter is this, all right? He's not getting paid. He's not getting what he wants. So this further just cements, and there comes a time in every athlete's career. At one point, it's about the love. And I think it's an up and down. This is what I look at, right? You get drafted, it's about the love of the game. It's the love of the game. You get near the end of your contract, it's strictly business, and you see it for what it is, because you're seeing a lot of your colleagues get paid. You're seeing your teammates get paid. You're seeing everybody getting boku dollars except for yourself. So now you're like, bro, I love this team, but like, this is a reality check. This is business. I could find myself on another team. They might trade me if I don't perform, or I might just get booted, or I might get franchise tagged. Whatever the case is, this is really a business. There comes a reality check that comes to a player, right? The light bulb comes on. And then once they do get paid, the love of the game comes back again, right? So there's waves that go up and down. So right now, it's business. But once the Bills and James Cook iron something out, whether it comes this offseason, which I doubt it's going to happen, or it comes next season, you'll see the love of the game come back to James Cook. I'm sure he still loves it, but right now he's realizing that, man, is this ever a business? And now he's just got to handle business as he sees fit. But with the business comes performance, right? It's a business. So he's going to have to perform, because if he does not perform, he's going to end up getting what Brandon Beane originally wanted to give him, whatever that number is that he was not happy with. So he's got to perform. So he can get his number, whether it be in Buffalo or elsewhere, he's got to perform. So this is business. But once you take care of business, you can have the fun again, James Cook. But we got to handle business first. So we'll see how it all plays out. Does Brandon Beane make something happen this offseason? Doubtful. I think they want to see what James Cook is going to be about. Furthermore, I think it's about a specific statistic that's holding this all together. That's my opinion. But James Cook is a well-liked back. I think everybody knows how talented he is. But there's one thing, in my opinion, that is holding this whole thing back. And I want your thoughts on this, okay? So James Cook had 1,000 yards rushing. However you want to, you can scream to the moon and say, well, he got it because the last game of the year and they gave him it doesn't matter. He got over 1,000 yards. He had 16 rushing touchdowns. Statistically, that looks fantastic. However, he had 2 touchdowns the year before that. Mm-hmm. So if Brandon Beane was going to give James Cook a deal, wouldn't he have had to seen double-digit TDs last year, then a 16 TD season like this year that just passed, the year before, excuse me? So at least you can see some consistency on touchdown production and yards production. Right now, Brandon Beane, if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm looking at this, which player am I going to get? Are you going to dupe me? Or are you going to give me that 16 touchdown guy or a double-digit touchdown guy? So maybe that's why James is not getting his contract, because my man is holding back the contract to see Can you give me that again? And I think it's all about touchdown production and seeing consistency. Am I putting my tinfoil hat on, or is that something that could be playing a part in this?
You are not putting your tinfoil hat on. You're leading me right to a statistic that I wanted to show. To kind of show, it kind of puts into perspective the situation and why obviously James Cook wants to get paid right now because he's coming off the season that he had, and why Brandon Beane might not be willing to go all in right now because of the season that James Cook just had. There was a tweet put out by Datarama. He basically, I think he's a fantasy football Twitter account. Let me pull this up because I found this to be very interesting, and it's going along exactly with what you're kind of alluding to here. Of course, it's not letting me share my screen, which, what else is there?
Where's it on Twitter?
Yeah, let me send. I'll direct message it to you because, of course, why would it? Why would it work?
Why wouldn't it? It's you.
I just sent it to you. I want you to pull this up because this stat is, I think it does a great job in showing you the outlier of a season James Cook just had and why paying him top of the market money right now could be putting the cart. What's the saying there?
The cart before the horse. The
cart before the horse. Exactly right. So as you can see on your screen here, courtesy of Datarama on Twitter, right? James Cook's TD rates over the past 3 years. 2022, he ranked 39th in the NFL amongst 55 running backs. 2023, he ranked 55th amongst 57 running backs. Last year, ranked number 1 amongst all running backs in the league. This account goes on to mention the goal line rush attempts. In 22 and 23, he was near the bottom of the league in the amount of attempts he was given around the goal line. As you can see, in 2024, that went up significantly, which of course led to an uptick in touchdowns. So this account says, while the Bills finally gave Cook access to some goal line work, he was still just 24th amongst running backs in goal line attempts. His TD rates from year 1 and year 2 are likely lower than we should expect, but his year 3 TD rate is certain to come down. And I think what this is showing you is that the first 2 years were lower than what we could expect from James Cook, but last year is probably way higher than what we should expect. And I think we all know this. James Cook led the league in total touchdowns last year, and I think it would be somewhat foolish to go into this year expecting him to do that again. That's a really high bar to hit, especially when the 2 years prior to that, he wasn't even close to it. So for those who are all in on wanting to pay Cook, or even in Cook's situation, being all in on wanting to get paid, I think any reasonable mind can look at the body of work James Cook has put together during his time in Buffalo and clearly understand that last year was a major outlier. And it's totally understandable from the Bills' perspective to want to see if that can come close to be repeated before you're paying $15+ million to a position that most organizations aren't willing to pay that type of money to. And are you looking at that stat, by the way, Rico, and are you seeing some validity in that? Because I think that shows, it paints a perfect picture to me.
This is why I brought up Brandon Beane saying, well, hold on. I like everything about your game, my boy. I like it. I like it all. But I want to see a level of consistency. And that could be on Brandon Beane's part and manager's part. Listen, we see the data. I mean, I can bring it right back up again. We haven't been giving you the football like we should have been. So we saw a big hike in that. I mean, let's take a look. I mean, you said it, right? James Cook touchdown rates over the last 3 years, 2.25%, 0.84, and then 7.73, number 1.
And then, mind you, that those goal line attempts, Rico, even though it's a drastic increase, he was still middle of the pack in the league in terms of attempts.
Absolutely. So now they're probably looking like, okay, hey, Joe Brady, we clearly see that we have something in James Cook. He's impressed us. He's playing better than we expected. Bro, let's get an uptick. Let's actually build something around this guy. Let's try to get him the ball more in these scenarios, because when we do give him the ball, we have success, major success. So why not dive more into it? So, Joe Brady, you have an assignment this year. I need to see this offense roll the way it rolled. Now, a lot of people are saying also the Bills scoring 30 points, 8 straight games and being the number one offense is not going to happen again. So you're looking for a regression on the offense. So if there's going to be a regression in the offense, potentially, you can definitely expect a regression with the amount of touches that James Cook is going to get. So this is very tricky. So James Cook could eventually get paid out very well, very handsomely by the time the season's done and we win the Super Bowl and all that great stuff if the offense does what it's supposed to do. Because if the offense does what it's supposed to do, then James Cook will. If the offense regresses and is scoring 24 points a game per, then we'll see how it all shakes out. So that's why this is a big year, not only for the offense, for this team, but it's a big year for James Cook. So everybody's in this wait and see how this all plays out. So let's not panic. So maybe that's why there is a good relationship between James, head coach, and GM, because we're like, hey, man, we love you. We want you. But we want to see more. And James is like, bump all that. You already know what you see in me. And this shelf life for this running back, it's not a long one. So I'm trying to capitalize right now. Unfortunately, this is where the business comes in. Capitalize all you want, my boy, but I'm the one paying the checks. I'm cutting the checks. So let's find out how this all plays out. You may not agree with it, but you're gonna have to play this game. You're gonna have to play the game and figure out how we all get along and get this thing happening. So it's gonna be very much Bills fans having to be patient and see if we can do this again. Can James Cook get you double? I don't need 16 touchdowns. No. I need double digit. Get me into the double digits. That we're talking, right? Get me the 1,000 yards again. Now we're talking. And get you to be impactful on the team. Now we're talking. The other day I was just reminded, hey man, 2 years of James Cook is what Saquon Barkley gave you in 1 year last year with the Eagles. I was like, you got a point there. You got a point there.
Well, once again, that comes down to what James Cook mentioned today, where he said, I don't really look at snap count and stuff like that. That's where this is just a whole different argument to me. Like when you're looking at Saquon, that is the bulk share of that offense, right? That's the biggest difference here. And that's where it's just a very interesting situation because that's just not what the Bills are. That's why this is so intriguing. It's not like it's this template where James Cook gets 55% of the offensive snaps and the offense can't be replicated without him doing that. You take Saquon Barkley away from that Eagles offense, they're still great. They still have maybe, the best wide receiver tandem in the league, probably 2 or 3. You have a top 10 quarterback and an amazing offensive line. Yep. But are the Eagles a Super Bowl team to the caliber in which they beat the Chiefs last year without Saquon Barkley to get him there and win Offensive Player of the Year? No. I think that when you're looking at those numbers, when you're looking at the Bills last year, Josh Allen winning the MVP, there's far more of an argument that the Bills would be in the exact same spot without that production compared to the Eagles, where I think that they would not be in that exact same spot if not for the production of Saquon Barkley.
Let me ask you this. Does James Cook walk next year?
Well, it's James Cook's going to have the leverage next year, depending on how well he plays. So he can choose, really. Say, it comes down to Bean's going to have an offer on the table, I would imagine. Whether it's low, high, somewhere in the middle, there's going to be an offer extended to James Cook by the Bills. It's then going to be up to James Cook whether or not he values a couple more $1 million to go play elsewhere, or he values being a part of the team that drafted him that's currently a top 3 organization in the sport. I've talked about this ad nauseum. What do you value more? Do you value maximum amount of money possible, but in getting that, foregoing a lot of the intangibles, great organization, top quarterback, top offensive line, Super Bowl window, not having to pick up and move? Or do you value getting maximum amount of money at all costs? And I have said that I think, me personally, the way I look at it, I am on board with whatever a player decides. This is their career. And if they value top money while they can get it, you're never going to hear me arguing against it. Now, where I would be somewhat confused is say Brandon Beane comes out with a $12 million a year offer. And Brandon Beane turns that down, James Cook turns that down for a $14 million a year offer and say, I don't know, a random team, the Saints, exactly. Say Alvin Kamara retires in the offseason.
Exactly. All over again.
You wouldn't see me coming on here and ripping James Cook for it, but you would see me coming on here saying, man, that's a head scratcher to me. That's just not a move I would make. For all, you might say $2 million is $2 million. Sure. But when you're making that amount of money, is the $2 million gap worth giving up all of that other stuff? And that's where I personally would value all of those intangibles, maybe a bit more than others would. But then again, like I said, it's their career. They got to make the most money possible while they can. And if that is what they value above anything else, then that's just the way it is. It's their career. All of us would take the most amount of money we could if we had the opportunity. But you do have to step back and think, do I want to take max and lose the other stuff, or keep the other stuff and take slightly less? It's all going to depend, Rico, on that gap between where Brandon Beane is and where another organization is.
And here's the thing too, right? And I asked that question, but I didn't really do a follow-up. So I asked that question with the mind frame of, I'm walking because you guys disrespected me. Does he feel disrespected? Meaning, I wanted this contract. You guys felt that I wasn't good enough to get that money. Because that's what it comes down to, right? Because if people want to get, if GMs and owners want to pay a player when they're broke, they still manage how. You can name any case you want to that you thought a team was broke, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, how'd that deal happen? So does he look at this as disrespect to the point where, I'll play this season, but you ain't going to see me no more because I want to be somewhere I'm appreciated. You need to appreciate, because if you appreciated me, you would have signed me. So you don't appreciate me. You don't appreciate this position clearly. So
you're saying say if another team had the exact same offer as Buffalo, would Cook consider going to the other team simply because of this situation?
I absolutely do believe that he would consider it. Obviously, he's got to look at, what am I leaving behind? I'm leaving Josh Allen. I'm leaving a team that is a playoff team damn near every year, divisional winner, all that good stuff. But I can't forget that these guys clearly didn't think that I was good enough to get paid. They wanted me to prove myself another year. When I reach free agency, somebody's going to want to pay me. So I'm going to do my damnedest to ball out. And when I do, I'm going to turn my back on these guys and say, no, I'm going to go do my thing. So it makes me wonder, does James Cook reach that point? Because I'm sure he's got his brother in his ear. I'm sure he's got other, teammates all over the place. It reminds me very much of CJ Spiller. CJ Spiller, I remember the Bills wanted to re-sign him. Now, I just don't remember what they were offering CJ Spiller at the time. Now, CJ had a couple injuries here and there. He had that massive year in 2012 where he had 1,200 yards or whatnot. I can't remember what the year was exactly. But point is, CJ was like, nah, I feel like I deserve more. And then he ended up going elsewhere, and the grass was certainly not greener on the other side. He went to the Saints. It was abysmal. It was downhill from there. Now, mind you, he did have some injuries on him, so that's what kind of caused it. But sometimes you just got to stick to where they treat you good. And I think the Bills have treated a lot of these players great. You see a lot of players return to the Bills because they were treated great. So I can't see it being the Bills mistreating him, but I may see it as him seeing as this was disrespect. So I'm going to play this season, and I'm out at the end of it. So you'll hope that it's not the case. You hope that the relationship is solid and it's strictly business and water under the bridge if the money comes in and it's exactly where they want to. But I'll tell you right now, if somebody says, hey, man, the Bills are giving you what, 15 or 14, bro, I'll match that. You coming over? Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to feature you. You are going to get the touches that you want and your X, Y, Z, all that good stuff. I'd be interested to see how that all plays out. You obviously don't want to see your talent walk, but I also know that the running back position is a disrespected position, and they're waiting for the next guy to come in. Ray Davis is chomping at the bit, right? Next batch of running backs to come in, you can find, and it pains me to say this, you can find another fast, quick twitch back in this game that's got a little size to him, right? Darrington Evans is that guy right now. He's just a smaller guy, but you catch my point what I'm trying to make. So it's going to be interesting to see how James Cook deals with this moment. All right. Yes, you showed up and we love it, and you have a great year. Let's hope you do. But at the end of the year, are you going to come back with the Bills, or do you say you had your chance, now I'm walking? So it'll be interesting. Something to really pay attention to down the road. But we're in the offseason. We're talking about it. James is back. We love that he's back. It's a big-time show of respect to his teammates. So hopefully things work out, and he's going to be in a Bills uniform for a while.
It's certainly something to consider and think about because, of course, it is an option. And if James Cook does feel slighted, then you have to consider the idea that he would go somewhere else because he does feel that way, regardless of the amount of money being put on the table, right? Here's why I personally would not allow that to factor in. And by the way, James Cook was asked about this. He basically was asked if there's any hard feelings. And that's when he said what you alluded to earlier. He has beef with nobody, is what he said. And he says everything is business, and he understands that. If we can put that on a human level in terms of us being able to relate to this, let's say we work at a tech company, right? I work at Apple, and there's a couple other guys. One guy works for Meta, and the other one works for Microsoft. And let's say Derrick Henry works for Microsoft, Saquon Barkley works for Meta, whatever. Those two guys, and I'm just using those two as hypotheticals, two guys that came to the top of my mind. Those two guys crushing it. Everybody knows that's the top of the game right there. Those are the two best in the industry. And Saquon Barkley, at least, gets paid like that. Now, I'm crushing it at Apple. I'm crushing it. But I do have 1 year that was significantly better than the other two. And I don't think that the industry looks at me in the same light as they do those other surefire Hall of Fame talents, right? If I walk into my CEO's office and I say, look, those guys are getting paid top of the market money, I want that amount of money too. I can't fault myself for wanting that and asking for it because at the end of the day, it's my career. I just had a hell of a year and I want to be able to maximize on my work. But at the same time, Rico, I can't hate my CEO or I can't have anger towards my CEO because he's not willing to just drop everything and write a check for me because I asked for it. I have to understand that in business, like James Cook mentioned, in business, you have to have both parties come together and reach a mutual ground here. And it's obvious that that mutual ground currently is just not in play right now. And I think it has to be understood why that is. So even though I want that money, I feel like I'm entitled to that money. I feel like there has to be some understanding there as to why that money isn't just being easily forked over like it might be for a guy like Saquon Barkley.
That's a great point. So that's why this it's going to be crucial. I use the word crucial, that the right things are said, the right moves are made to maintain a good relationship throughout the year. And you want that. So because now when it comes down to the time to talk numbers, there's no animosity. There's just, let's see if we can make something happen.
So let me ask you to that point then. When we go back to him saying that the communication has been great, how do you perceive that? What does that mean to you when you hear that? Is it fluff? Or is it, yeah, communication's been great, not contract related? Or, Rico, does it mean, hey, communication's been great, we've made strides that I didn't think we were going to make at this point?
It's interesting because communication has been great. He could have used a lot of other words. Hey, there hasn't been much conversation from my end, and there hasn't been much conversation from their end. It's just been status quo. Then you could be like, okay, they haven't spoken, so like there's nothing. But to say that communication is great, that means there is conversation, but it might be strictly about football. Numbers, take care of it next season. This is what we have planned for you. This is what we're going to plan. This is what we're going to do. We've talked to Joe Brady about this, and you're going to be a big part of this season, which is going to make you have the numbers you want, right? So in terms of conversation and communication, maybe that's what it is, and that is great. Why wouldn't you like that? I'm hearing things that would make me have a fantastic season. Brandon Beane strikes me as a guy that says, listen, I'm not paying you, can't pay you right now because I have plans. My plans were to take care of this. Had I been able to get you at this number, I would have been happy, but I respect the fact that you feel that you need to earn more. However, I run a business here. So because we can't get to numbers doesn't mean that we can't have a relationship and talk about football. Here's the plan. You want this. Here's what I want. Here's what's going to take place. Joe Brady's got a plan for you to do this. Josh Allen's coming into his MVP year. We just added Josh Palmer. We just added Elijah Moore. Kincaid's coming back. You know what I mean? To have a big fourth year. There's a lot of things shaking out. This offense is going to be shaking. We need you to be part of this. If this offense flourishes, you flourish. So you're a big part of this. So hang tight, be patient. We love you. We want you. It's just not your time. It's not your time right now. But from a business standpoint, from coming from my man James Cook, is like, yo, what if I get hurt?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna take care of me? Because
I
you're
get
just
it.
gonna send
I know.
me by the wayside. You're just gonna send me by the wayside if I get hurt. God forbid I miss 2-3 games or I miss 4 games. So now my numbers look like 700 yards. You're gonna say, reflecting off your 700 yards and you got hurt. Now I'm looking at a running back, signing him long term, and you got a torn meniscus or you got a torn labrum. Bro, you're damaged goods. I can't give you the number you want. So it's your job as a professional to stay healthy, do what you got to do. Bro, there's too many things that can happen during the season. That's why players want to get paid right now. So I understand James Cook in this fashion. So great relationship communication is awesome, but I get hurt. All that goes out the window. Give me my monies. I want my money ons. But this is the business. The leverage is on the Bills side. So they can say what they want and do what they can and do what they want, essentially, because you're under contract, sir. You're under contract. So you do what I tell your ass to do. And that's all he's got to take it. He's got to take that. He's got no choice.
It's funny you bring this up. I think it was Chris Sims who mentioned this the other day on something I was listening to. And obviously this would never happen, but it was an interesting thought nonetheless. They were talking about the James Cook situation, and they ultimately got down the rabbit hole of talking about running back contracts in general. And he had made a point that maybe there needs to be an adjustment to how running backs are paid based on their contract structure. And he had said maybe being eligible for a new contract, I believe it was after a year or 2. And even though that might be the extreme end of this, it does feel like the running back position right now is one of those positions outside of the absolute top of the top. It's that position that's on the outside looking in of making these insane amount of dollars that everybody else seems to be making across the league. Like if you look at quarterback, Josh Allen, $58 million. Yeah, everyone's signing up for that. Dak Prescott at $60 million. Brock Purdy, mid-50s. Tua, mid-50s. And this is where it gets awfully interesting. Quarterback is that position where, hey, if you're next in line and you're serviceable, you're going to be making the most amount of money possible or very close to it. Wide receiver, if you're a wide receiver 1 and your team doesn't really have much else, you might get moved. Like certainly it's possible, but I think it's more likely than not that if your team is lacking at that position, you might not be A.J. Brown or C.D. Lamb, but you're going to get paid. And when you do, it's going to be significantly more than the running back position. This is where I sympathize with a guy like Cook, maybe more than I would with a different position or a different type of player, because it is this position that gets run into the ground up until year 5.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
And then the majority of these running backs, the best years are behind them. They're talking about Derrick Henry right now going into his 30th age season, right? Yep. They're talking about him like he's the 8th wonder of the world because he's still playing the way that he is. We're talking about 30 years old. Josh Allen's going to be 30 years old next year. Nothing's going to change. Josh Allen's still going to be a top-tier quarterback. Running back, you're a crash test dummy for the majority of these teams, the way that the game is played. You're getting hit play after play after play, way more than anybody else is on the offensive side of the ball, outside of course, the big men in the middle. So I thought it was an interesting thought because you brought up the injury situation, and these guys, Genti might be in a situation, comes out and he's great. Raiders get 4 or 5 years out of him. Hey, we know that the best is behind us. Now we're going to send you off to, whatever, Carolina, and you'll make mid-tier money until you retire. It's an odd spot to be in, that running back position, Rico.
It is, because you got to go back in history and take a look at some guys that got paid, right? So you look at guys like Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was on it. And then that injury. Once that injury happened, man, they treated this guy like he was some bum. And he was a top back in this game. They treated him like
it's a great example.
Those are things you have to pay attention to. You got to pay attention to these other, and I gotta thank Signified Notes for that, right? Zeke Elliott.
Yep.
Yo, Zeke was that dude. And then Zeke, got kind of nicked up a couple times, has not been the same since. He's gonna be out of the league, if not this year, next year. Right? They might not mess with this brother. And this guy was a top dog. So
CMC right now, we're watching it in front of our very eyes. McCaffrey goes from a 19 million. We bring it up all the time. Do you think the Niners are sitting around today feeling great about that contract that they inked a little over a year ago?
Now we're talking. So now you got to look at it. You got to look at it from the management side point. Now we've looked at it from the player side point. Now we're looking at the management side point. Yo, you are not the only player that's been in this position where you are a star player, but like you get nicked up, man, you're a different player. So I go ahead and pay you, and all of a sudden you get nicked up, and then you're not the same. I still owe you. So I've got to do my due diligence. The running back position is so tricky because they get, like you said, run through the ground. So you've got to almost have to be like elite from year one going forward for you to get your money, because I'm looking at you with a magnifying glass to really make sure I'm going to pay you the money I need to pay you, right? Derrick Henry doing what he does, it's not normal, right?
You got to come out of college like that, Rico. Like, you already have to be the guy in the draft to get that money. To be.
Like, Genty is the guy, and Genty got his money. I was looking at Genty's contract, guaranteed $35 million. He's making Saquon money.
I did not know that.
He's making Saquon money. So this is why guys like James Cook want to get paid. You can't listen. Ashton Genty right now, he signed a 4-year deal, $35.9 million contract. It includes $22.7 million signing bonus. Bro, guaranteed. That's what he's getting. And he's got a 5th-year option on top of that. Boy, he getting paid. So guys like James Cook are like, fam, I want to get my money now.
Once again, though, if the Raiders had a Josh Allen, that contract would not exist for Ashton Genty in Las Vegas. That's the other thing that we always bring up that I think gets lost a lot of the time. When you have the quarterback, it's a lot easier to look at the amount of money to pay a guy that isn't that quarterback and say, yeah, it'd be nice, but do we need to do it? Like, Rico, right now for the Raiders, Ashton Genty already is the face of the Raiders offense. He hasn't played a single snap yet.
Ashton Genty's a different boy. He's a different cat, man. I mean, he was the guy when he was with the blue team, Boise State. Coming out of Georgia, wasn't James Cook sharing the load with another running back? I can't remember who the running back was, but he was sharing the load with the other running back. So he wasn't the guy. So not to take shade, not to throw shade on him, is managers looking at everything. Bro, the running back position, there's not a big time shelf on there. You're in a unique position. The wonderful thing is now they're playing by his contract. I got you by the contract because I'm not 100% sure. We got one more year left in this 4-year deal. I need to see what I need to see, and then we could discuss it. And he's like, bro, I want to get paid now. So this is that standstill. So that's why I brought up the whole disrespect part. Bro, everybody else is getting paid but me? Nah, bro. Like, you're going to see. You're going to see. I'm going to have a great year, but I'm not guaranteed to come back to y'all. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But big time love for James Cook for showing up. I know he's sitting here. I don't want to get paid. I want to get paid. I get it. He was even talking about it today. Let me just play a little clip from our guy James on him being in camp. I don't know if the volume's gonna be up. Let's see if it does. Let me know if you can hear it.
Just working out and just continue to keep doing what I've been doing.
Did you feel like it was a must that you had to be here? I mean, obviously it is mandatory, but why did you decide to come?
Like my money. That's why I'm here.
It's business, man. I like my money. There's no other ways to look. I like my money. So now, strictly business. Let's go. And we get it. Papa Bill says, yo, Rico, Cook did it to himself. And here's a last part, because I know we talked about it at length, but it's a good conversation to have.
I got one more thing to add once you're done, too.
Cool. Had he not brought up and stood on that hill of 15 mil, would we be in this scenario right now? And would he be under contract with a good contract? Or was him being public and saying, I want this and I'm not moving off of it, has that hindered him getting paid? Part of me believes that. I don't think that's the case. They can ask for whatever they want. He could ask for 22 mil. Great. You're going to get what I give you. So does it really matter? I don't think so. I don't think organizations, I wouldn't say they love it, but I don't think organizations kind of hold a lot of time into it because they've been in. Brandon Bean's been in this too long to be like, this is new. No, players do this. They ask for something and you'll get what I give you. So that plays a part. Does it play a part? I don't think it does, but it was out there, and public perception can really kill you. And it did a number on him. So, and it actually helped management. So who knows? Had he stayed quiet, maybe would have got a deal. What were you going to add?
You're leading me to the well that Mighty Moto set up for me. and I've been meaning to get to this because I love that he made this comment and I wanted to talk about this. Mighty Moto says, I think Cook realized that making a public demand wasn't the wisest move. The reason I thought of this, if you go to the press conference today, he was flat out asked, basically, why did you make this public? Why did you feel the need to make this public? And he had a very apprehensive answer. He said, he was asked, why did you take it public? Did you feel that you needed to? And James Cook just said, it's just something that I did. I don't know why I did it. That's what he said. Then he was asked, was it a strategy? And he said no. Now, let me put my bent tinfoil brimmed hat on once again. Put it on. In reading the body language there, and I have felt this for a while, I haven't vocalized it a ton, but him being as quiet as he is, I always thought it was a bit strange that he was as vocal as he was about this contract. And I had always in the back of my mind wondered if he was leading the charge on this. I had always wondered if he was spearheading the publicity surrounding him wanting the amount of money that he does, or if that was being manufactured by his team and other powers that be, because it never really struck me as something that he would do just based on his demeanor and the way he kind of goes about everything. It doesn't seem like he would like having that spotlight on him. And when he was asked about it today, the body language in the response kind of told me he hasn't liked that response at all. He hasn't liked that spotlight. And I don't want to put words in his mouth or speak for him, but I'm just reading based on what I saw in his response. It just felt like him making it as public as he did. He wasn't really certain in how he responded to the question surrounding why he did that. And I can't help but wonder if there's some regret there to how much publicity he has garnered around this contract situation. And if he kind of wishes he would have approached it differently. I also can't help but wonder if this is something that he wanted in the first place, or if this was done by whoever. I have no idea. All these guys have a team of guys working for them, doing stuff behind the scenes. And they thought, hey, maybe this is the best way to play this. We just had the best season you could possibly have. We got to strike now. But Rico, the way he responded to that question, it just kind of seemed like you talked about standing on business in terms of making it public. He stood on business based on every question he was asked this morning. That was the one that stood out to me where I was thinking, man, it kind of seems like he's iffy in how he approached the publicity surrounding this contract this offseason.
Well, there's a clip that I need to play here because it's apropos. And when there's certain things you gotta know when to say it, and you gotta just know when to be quiet. And the only thing that comes up to me is Cat Williams. And if you know this clip I'm about to play, if you know, you know.
You shouldn't have been talking shit. You shouldn't have been talking shit.
Listen, sometimes you just have to stay quiet. You just can't be out there without a plan behind what you're going to do, because you effed around and you found out, and now you got to wait your turn. So if you know, you know. And I got to play it one more time for people to understand. Sometimes you got to have a strategy. And if you don't have a strategy, the other guy on the other side is going to be saying,
you shouldn't have been talking shit.
Here's the thing, though, Rico.
You can't, baby. You can't. You got to know what you're doing. And if you don't, find some counsel.
That's the key. That's the key. Knowing what you're doing. Didn't it feel like James Cook kind of half dunked his foot into the waters of making demands this offseason? And it wasn't like Myles Garrett, right? Or it's not like Trey Hendrickson currently, where you know where they stood or where they stand. They're all in. It's pay me or we're making moves. It kind of felt like it took some time for James Cook to come around to the idea that, yeah, leverage is not on my side here. I'm going to have to show up, and the publicity surrounding the contract and the demands, or, basically the kind of the noise I was making around it, I should have maybe known that this was never going to make a difference. I was going to have to show up regardless, knowing I was going to have to pay fines, knowing the Bills had all the leverage. Did it kind of feel to you like it was kind of a a half-dipped effort in kind of going all in on trying to get paid? Because I think it could be seen that way.
Sometimes you think, what is it, too big for your britches? Is that what the term?
Yeah.
You weren't there yet. You were making proclaiming certain things. You know what I mean? You wanted that, but you didn't have enough meat behind it. You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes you gotta, like Trey Hendrickson can say, yeah, I ain't moving. And on top of that, he's been part of the game a long time. You're a vet guy. So I gave you back-to-back 17 sack seasons. Bro, you ain't gonna play with me. I've been one of the top dogs in this game. James Cook, on the other hand, gave you 16 rushing touchdowns with 1,000 yards. I'm diminishing by doing this, right? I'm not trying to do that. But there wasn't enough behind it. At least with CMC, bro, there was enough behind it where you're like, I want to pay that man, right? Derrick Henry, there's enough behind it that I want to pay that man, right? So there's you got to have a resume, and his resume wasn't there. He didn't build it enough, and that's the problem that I have with it. Had he built his resume enough, then you could talk on it, right? 16 rushing touchdowns last year was amazing. You can't even take away from that. But can you do it again? And if you do it again, now you got something behind your resume, and you stayed healthy doing it, and I gave you an uptick in goal line touches. You've proven yourself. Now you get your money. And now, guess what? When you get your money, you got to prove it even more. So then they got to believe that he can do it even more. You best hope that there doesn't come there's a draft running back coming into the draft next year that's got great potential, and he's sitting at, round 2, round 3, because Buffalo likes to cycle in. So put a resume behind your name, and maybe you get your money. But did he dip his toe too deep into the water? Yes, he did. He tried to just tip his dough in there, but he took his whole foot in there, and then they got his foot. We got your foot. Cat got your foot.
Now I will say, yes. And I will say, even if he bit off a bit more than he could chew going public with the contract and the amount of money that he wanted, this is why I think he's doing a hell of a job right now, and he's playing it exactly right. Because even if he did bite off a little bit more than he could chew, and he might not have wanted to have gone the distance that he did, it's all going to be forgotten. And I think it's all going to be brushed under the rug now that he has showed up to mandatory minicamp. He's going to show up to training camp, and he's going to play the full duration of the season without being any sort of distraction. I think that goes a long way towards kind of removing the constant talk surrounding the contract during the offseason. Of course, it'll get brought up from time to time, and it'll certainly get brought up this time next year when it's on the table. But even if it's damage control or not, I'm not even sure that it is. I think it's just the right play. I think he's doing everything right now. And even if he didn't play it exactly right throughout the duration of the offseason, he's making up for it right now. I think that goes a long way. And I think ultimately this portion of the season, it matters the most when it comes to this situation. The fact that he's showing up, the fact that he's participating, not going to be a distraction, and he's all bought in, that's all that matters. So I got to give him credit, even though he might have gone a little too far based on what I think he might have wanted or intended to do in the offseason, publicizing the contract and wanting to get paid the amount he did. I think he's doing it exactly right now, and it'll go a long way towards kind of removing what we thought about that during the offseason.
Lesson learned. I mean, you learn your lessons, man. Sometimes it's just what it is. Sometimes you got to learn and you live. And he's a young player. I guess you can chalk it up to youth. You know what I mean? And he spoke before he should have. And this is where big bro should have came in and said, hey, man, big bro, little bro, just chill out. But here's the thing. You had big bro fanning the fire by saying, yo, 20 mil or whatever the heck he was saying. So it didn't help. You need guys in your corner saying, hey, chill out, bro. The way this league works, you're gonna get yours. I got mine. You got to get yours, but this is not the way to do it. We're two different players, two different eras. Anyway, it is what it is with James Cook. But I'm glad that he returned. At the end of the day, he's back with the Bills, and he's here so he won't get fined, man. He's here so he won't get fined. We'd love to see it.
Exactly like James Payne said. Cook playing the Marshawn card here so he doesn't get fined. But I'll tell you, he's not only there so he doesn't get fined. I got to give him all the credit in the world for participating. I didn't think it might. I personally didn't even know it would go that far. I think that's awesome. I think it was Walt maybe who mentioned it during a stream one time where he had said to me, if you're going to show up, you might as well participate. And I said, yeah, that makes sense in theory, but I also understand why these guys wouldn't, to protect their bodies and ultimately preserve their health to try and get paid like that. He didn't have to do this in pursuit of the contract. He could pull what other guys have pulled in the past. You got to give him credit for not only showing up, but of course, fully participating and being a part of the team right now.
You love to see it. You love to see it. Welcome back, big guy. James Cook ain't trying to lose no money, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. Love to see it.
No doubt. Hey, by the way, before we transition, I just want to give a shout out. So many people in the chat, nearly 900 of you with us tonight on a Tuesday. Big Papa Bill's in the building. Terrence, Laura, Sleepy24, BP, my man Richie Fresh, Alton V, James Payne.
Drop the area code, man. Drop the area code on where you're at in the chat, man. Drop it down. Let's go.
No doubt. JTL.
Anybody from the 902 or the 613, drop that in the chat, baby. Let's go.
Let it be known. PVC up in here, Hill Slayer. We really appreciate every single one of you tuning in to recap the first day of mandatory minicamp. An hour in the books on James Cook. Rico, where shall we go next, transitioning into hour two?
Well, we did a bit of a splash today. The Bills brought in a free agent linebacker, one that is familiar around the league, and he goes by he's got a very popular first name, I'll tell you that much, one of the most popular names in sports. Shaq Thompson, the former Carolina Panther linebacker, is now a Buffalo Bill. Initial thoughts, Z-Bot, on this signing. Are you in favor or out? Now, before you jump into it, for those that are unfamiliar with Shaq Thompson, former Carolina Panther, he had 1 year. Well, he had 2 years technically with Sean McDermott as defensive coordinator, but he claims that he only played for Sean for 1 year. But nonetheless, he had some time with Sean, and he thought Sean was a good guy, and we could touch on that in just a little bit. But Mr. Shaq Thompson he's no slouch. He's had a very solid season, a career, and you're looking at a guy that is coming off 2 injury-riddled years, and this is what people are talking about now. And you're probably wondering, what is this? So most recently, in 2023, he missed several games because of a major injury, and then he comes back the following year and tears his Achilles. So now 2 major injuries to a very good linebacker that's only 30, just turned 31. But we all know that some guys are coming back off Achilles injuries, i.e. Trey White, and people are saying, hey, he might have a shot to, push to get some significant role on this team. But Shaq Thompson joining the Bills is refreshing. I'm a big fan of it. I know some people aren't, but here's what he brings to the Buffalo Bills. What he's done so far this year, in his career, he's got 750 total tackles. He's got 12 sacks in his career, 5 forced fumbles, 3 recovered. He's got 3 interceptions for his career, and he's just a good, solid leader. Now, when you look at this addition and knowing that he's hurt and all that, are you in on this signing? Are you more like, what are we doing? Or are you all in on this? Because we had no activity at the linebacker position. We didn't draft one, we didn't sign one, and we finally were able to add one piece. So your thoughts on Shaq Thompson joining the Bills?
So Shaq Thompson signed today, going into his 11th season, and you mentioned it. We'll talk about the relation to Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, being a Carolina Panther his entire career, and kind of how he got to where he is now, being a Buffalo Bill. He had some great things to say about McDermott that we'll touch on in a minute here. But in terms of bringing Shaq Thompson to the team, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, gung-ho, I'm going crazy over it, nor am I going to sit here and say, oh, this is terrible. This is one more feather in the cap, Rico, to me, of the approach that Brandon Beane has taken this offseason to ensure that this defense is going to be as good as it possibly can be going into 2025. That's why I like the signing. Brandon Beane has left no stone unturned this offseason going into 2025 in terms of making sure that he can lay his head on the pillow at night and say, I did all I could. I did everything in my power to try and bolster up this defense to get on par with that of the Buffalo Bills offense. They have basically invested their entire offseason in adding to this defense, whether it be veterans or whether it be in the draft. So now Shaq Thompson, of course, is the latest addition. We look at the draft. They go first round, second round, third round, 6 of their 9 picks, of course, being defensive players. I think a good chunk of those guys are going to be immediate impact players, not only this upcoming season, but of course, throughout the long term here, which is exactly what the Bills need. They need impact now, and they need sustainability on that side of the ball for the foreseeable future. But you're looking at what they've done. Brought in Michael Hoyt, right? Brought in Larry Ogunjobi, re-signed Tre'Davious White. You're now bringing in Shaq Thompson. All of those draft picks that I just alluded to. This is just one more piece, Rico, to an overall puzzle that I have been ecstatic about this offseason. And that's Brandon Beane's willingness to step up to the plate and take a big swing at trying to revamp this defense. You talk about the injury history. I know Trey White has it. I know Shaq Thompson has it. But you can't say Brandon Beane isn't throwing his darts at the board, trying to hit a variety of bullseyes to get this defense to where it needs to be. Not every one of these moves is going to be a hit, but they don't all have to be. Correct. I've said this a bunch before, Rico. As good as Josh Allen and this Bills offense is, I really do believe that if this defense can just get 5 to 10% better, the margin between the Bills being an exit in the AFC Championship and hoisting a Lombardi trophy in February is this big. And I think that 5 to 10% increase defensively narrows that margin and gets them to where they want to be. Not all of these guys are going to contribute to that. But the more that you continue to add, the more likely you are to narrow that gap and wind up hitting a home run or two. This is just one more piece to that puzzle, Rico. I have loved the approach Brandon Beane has taken to the defense this offseason, and that's why you've heard me be so optimistic about this Bills defense going into this year. It's as excited as I've been about a Buffalo Bills defense in a long time because I think the possibilities are there, and I haven't felt that in a while. It just feels like, Rico, there's a lot to be excited about. Whether it pans out or not is one thing. But as we sit here right now in early June, I don't know if I could listen to an argument right now against not being optimistic and excited about what could potentially be on the table for this Bills defense this upcoming season.
I'm with you. Why fight it? Why be upset that the Bills brought in a linebacker that brings a lot to the table? Let me tell you what you will gain. And apart from the injuries, let's just talk about it, because Thomas Davis's injuries don't bottle him into he's injury prone. Dude broke his fibula, which was a freak. Actually, I mean, you just go see Matt Milano. Matt Milano will tell you everything. Broke his fibula, so he was out for that season. Obviously, you break a leg, you're not gonna quite be. You're gonna need some time to recover. Then he comes back the year following, and then obviously, based on talking to Thigh Doc, you understand that when you come back from an injury like this, you got to really take your time coming back, i.e. Matt Milano. So that being said, tearing your Achilles really puts a hamper on your return. So you can't really come back to it. So if this guy can come back to being just a much better version of himself, obviously after these injuries, you can have a really good gem. Let me tell you something. Thomas Davis Jr., right, the former linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, tore his knee both times. I think both knees he tore, and this guy overcame it and was still a top dog in this game. So I'm not sleeping on the 31-year-old. I think he brings a lot to this team, and what I'm loving what I know of him when he's with the Carolina Panthers, you're going to get veteran leadership. Veteran leadership is something that we do need on this team, especially in that linebacker room. It is lovely. Terrell Bernard, he's a fantastic leader. You add Shaq Thompson to that, you got to love it. Not only that, versatility. You can put him all over the line, where you can put him in that Balin Spector position. And I'm going to tell you right now, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, that's going to be an issue for Balin Spector. We'll get into that in just a bit, right? Versatility. Now he brings his tackling ability. This guy's a tackling machine. 4 consecutive years where he had 100 tackles or more. Yet you know that he can get to it. And at the end of the day, he's got a little bit of familiarity with Coach McDermott. And that's what you like. It may not have been long, but he understands the guy that McDermott is. And speaking of the guy that McDermott is, a little clip to play for you from them asking him about Sean McDermott and what his familiarity is with him. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but I'll make sure the volume is nice and high.
I had 1 year with him, but I always knew that he was a great DC back then. I always knew that he'll be a hell of a head coach, The way he had us flying around on defense, I always knew that once he got it through one side, becoming a head coach, he get through the whole team, And Coach Sean McDermott is one of those guys that you just want to run through a wall for, He always has the energy. He's always positive, and he wants to win at the end of the day,
He wants to win at the end of the day. And when these guys get to a point where they're older in the game, it's about winning. It's about winning. And it's a one-year deal. It doesn't hurt. Who is he competing against? That's the real question. Who is he competing? He's not competing with Mal Milano. He's not competing with Terrell Bernard. He's not competing with Dorian Williams. He's going to be competing with the likes of Eddie Ulofushio. He's going to be competing with Balin Spector. He's going to be competing with some of the new cats that we brought to Joe Andreessen, Buffalo Joe. Those are the guys he's going to be competing against. Depth piece. So you want to see guys bring onto the squad that can bring something, leadership, experience. You need that. Why not? Right? Bernard is only 4 years in the game. He's still a young pup in this game, so he could learn a thing or two from a guy like Shaq Thompson. So, why push against that? Depth piece, leadership, McDermott guy, man, sign me up, man. Sign me up, because had he not been hurt, he would have been on the team killing it somewhere else. So I'm glad we brought him in, and if he can be a little bit of what we think we can be, why not? Love to see it. Welcome to Buffalo Shaq Thompson. Now, before we get into it, the other flip side is, we keep bringing these guys to Buffalo. What are we, a hospital? What are we, a hospital? We got Bosa over here chilling. We brought Trey White back. All right, now we got Shaq Thompson. So that was hey, man, are we the team that wants to fix people? There's a little something left that we can fix? It's like a relationship where, a guy he's a hot mess, but girl, I know I can fix him. Or, the Captain Sava, can say, hey, man, I know that she's got a bad rap, but, let her come to me and I'll do something about it. Is Buffalo becoming that team where, man, we see that you went through some things, but maybe we could do something about that. Hopefully they can. Maybe we are the Sava type team. We'll see. But I can see the flip side on people saying, man, what are we we want healthy people, not people that are going to damn near the morgue. You know what I mean? So talk to me on what your thoughts are on people that are man, enough of this, man. Stop bringing all these battered and injured people. We want healthy.
Well, the Bills fans that are upset about bringing in players that have had an injury history, their complaints are justified. I understand that. You said we want healthy players. Everybody wants healthy players. Healthy players come at a premium, especially top-tier healthy players, right? And you mentioned Shaq Thompson. Just because he's had a few injuries doesn't mean he's injury prone. He's only played 6 games the last 2 years, but he's going into his 11th season. And the 8 years prior to that, he played at least 14 games every single year. So we know that Joey Bosa has had injury histories. Of course, we know Joey Bosa has had one of the worst injury histories that a top-tier player can have. But when Joey Bosa is clicking, he's phenomenal. When Shaq Thompson's clicking, we know that he is a terrific vet at the position. When Trey White is healthy, and I know that's a tougher one because Trey White has seen a decline in his play because of the amount of injuries he's sustained. But, Sean McDermott mentioned today that he feels like, I don't have the exact quote, but he basically said that it feels like Trey White is home and that's going to get the best out of him, which I thought was a good way to put it. It just feels like he's back in his element, and that's going to allow him to put his best foot forward in terms of his play. I understand people being concerned about bringing in guys with an injury history, but you're also bringing in guys that when they are healthy are terrific players. And they're also veterans that are going to be able to lead a very young defense that's going into the next chapter of the Buffalo Bills defense that was just drafted this offseason. The primary bulk of all the draft picks, Brandon, being utilized this past April was on the defensive side of the ball. So not only are you bringing these guys in to, of course, get the most out of them on the field, you're also getting the most out of them in the locker room for a handful of guys that are now joining this team and are going to be the future of the organization on that side of the ball. That's why I think Brandon Beane has played this so well this offseason. He's really diversified what he's brought to the defense. A bunch of young studs and a bunch of older veterans that, yes, they may have some injuries under their belt. Find me the veteran who's going into year 8 or beyond that does not have somewhat of an injury history. You're bringing these guys in not only to get the most out of them at the end of their career, but also get that leadership as well. And I think Brandon Beane's done a real solid job. I know there's been some misses, and Von Miller, of course, is the primary one. But I think Brandon Beane has also done a solid job of bringing in these veterans. Rasul Douglas, of course, is one. Offensive side of the ball, Cole Beasley, John Brown. Brandon Beane has had success in bringing in these veterans in the later stages of their career and getting the most out of them. That's why, once again, I love an additional dart thrown at the board, Rico. Brandon Beane's been throwing them all offseason. The more you throw them, the more likely you are to land on a bullseye. So I think there's diversification there. I understand the concern with the injury history for some of these defensive players brought in, but you have a whole slew of guys coming in a rookie draft class as well, Rico. So I really do think there's a good blend there. And you can't just anticipate that everybody who's had an injury that's brought in is just going to get injured again. So you're going to get the most out of at least a couple of these guys. Once again, back to the point I've been making here. I like Brandon Beane continuously going to the well this offseason, making sure that he has the depth in position. The one thing the Bills have lacked dramatically, especially in the playoffs, is defensive depth. That might not be as big of a concern this year with the amount the Buffalo Bills have added to that side of the ball.
And depth is what we need, because Lord knows we felt the lack of depth at the cornerback position when we had to put in Jaire Alexander. The minute Benford went down, here we go again, and it was deflating. So
AJ Klein 2 years ago, right, Rico? That's
AJ crying out loud, man. Depth, it goes underrated. I know, like you said, getting these healthy players come at a premium. Sometimes we just don't have the bank enough to get these premium players. So now you got to get creative. Now you got to go back into the Rolodex and go, okay, I scouted this player 6 years ago. I liked him then. Let's see where he's at now. Okay, oh, shoot, he's available? Okay, let's work him out to see what he looks like. Does he look like what he looked like then when I looked at him? Does he have a semblance of what he looks like? Yo, you're on the squad. So Shaq Thompson coming to the Bills, that's a steal, in my opinion. That's an absolute steal. I'll take that any day, anyhow. Love to see it. Welcome back, or I guess I can say welcome back to play with Sean McDermott, Mr. Shaq Thompson. So I think he's going to gel well with this team. This team, man, this team is it's got to be it, man. It's got to be the year. It's got to be.
It's got to be. Let's touch on that, what you just said, because I loved what Shaq Thompson had to say about Sean McDermott. And I take a moment to emphasize these moments when they come about, because we've gotten in multiple tiffs, me and whoever, over Sean McDermott and how people view him leading this organization. Shaq Thompson, glowing reviews of Sean McDermott during his press conference today, and he hasn't worked with him in nearly a decade. He was only with Sean McDermott for 1 year in Carolina back in 2015, and you heard what he had to say. He said Sean McDermott is the type of guy you want to run through a wall for. He said the way that they had that Panthers defense flying around, he knew that he was going to be able to take that mentality and put it through an entire organization, not just the defensive side of the ball. He said he stayed in contact with McDermott and Beane since 2015. They've checked in on his injuries. They've checked in on him. You'll love to hear that. And Thompson would go on to say that what he's seeing now in Buffalo is a branch of what he saw in the early days back in Carolina. He said what they're teaching now in terms of character, team building, and just the overall aura of the building is the exact vibe that he got from Beane and McDermott back in 2015. I love hearing that, because Thompson was asked, what's it like coming to a new team when you've been with one organization for a decade? And he basically he made it seem like it's not easy, but the transition is a lot easier when you have a guy like McDermott leading the charge. And I just love to hear it, because even though he only worked with him for a brief period, he had nothing but great things to say. And he really seemed excited about getting another opportunity to play under Sean McDermott again here in Buffalo.
It's a win-win. I see this as a win-win. We gain more than we lose. Let's just say he's just not the player that we thought he was going to be. Okay. I mean, the contract can't be hefty because we don't got the bank like that. So to me, it's a win-win. You gain more than you lose here. Love to see it. But what I do feel awful for, or terrible, I don't know if you want to call it that, is guys like Eddie Ulufucho that got drafted in the 5th round a few years ago that has been insignificant, if you will. And no shout to him. It's just the way it's played out. Joe Andreessen came out of nowhere and was like, yo, I'm Buffalo Joe and I'm here to stay. Right. And he hasn't moved. He was great today, apparently, in camp. I think he was a menace. So he's finding his footing. Balen Spector, he's had a few injuries here and there. So, I mean, welcome to the club. So we'll see. Does Shaq Thompson outshine Balen Spector? Maybe. I mean, he's got an edge. So we'll see how this all plays out. So to me, this is a win-win. Can't go wrong. Welcome Shaq Thompson to the Bills. Love to see it. And we'll see how this all shakes out, man. I'm excited for this year. They're putting the pieces together. Sean McDermott said it himself. Listen, man, if you're going to play, it's because you earned the right to play. And I'm paraphrasing here. It ain't going to be, rookies not playing. It's only going to be the veterans. No, bro. He's at the point where he doesn't go through that anymore. He's not here trying to establish himself. He's already done it. He's one of the best coaches in the game right now. So he's like, okay, best player plays. Simple as that. My message is clear. The process is here. Trust my process. This is what's going down. So love the philosophy. If you're good enough, you're going to play. And I like it. And I want it to stay that way. So big shout out to McDermott. Big shout out to Brandon Beane bringing in some depth for the team and get it cracking. So we'll see how this mini camp goes out and plays out. So let's roll.
It's already playing out well for the defense, by the way. I had read earlier today, which I love this because Josh Allen's coming off of a year where he had an historically low turnover rate. Yep. In the first day of minicamp, Alex Brasky tweeted out earlier that one of the observations he made from minicamp was that Josh Allen was intercepted 3 times, once by Buffalo Joe, once by Christian Benford, and another one was picked off by Derek Forrest. And I had tweeted out, nothing like my GOAT getting the defense's confidence build up in early summertime, baby. Nothing like it. I want Josh Allen throwing interceptions during training camp and during mini camp. That's when I want Josh Allen figuring out the windows. He's got a lot of new guys he's throwing the ball to. And you can even argue that Keon Coleman is still brand new for Josh Allen. They've only played a handful of games together. So you got to build the chemistry with Keon Coleman, with Joshua Palmer, with Elijah Moore, with Laviska Shenault there. So Josh Allen's got a lot of new bodies he's throwing the ball to this upcoming season. I saw, Brasky tweet out that Allen was throwing picks today. And I kind of like that, to be honest with you, because I think Josh Allen is getting the feel of what it's going to be like. Yes, exactly. He's figuring that stuff out this offseason. I knew the comment section on that was going to be exactly what I anticipated it to be, and it was, where, basically, here we go. Yeah, the MVP season was short-lived, but this is what I want to see. Josh Allen not, worrying about making the safe play in minicamp, going out there, letting it fly, and trying to get this rapport built between him and these new receivers he's going to be throwing the ball to this upcoming season.
Well, speaking of this upcoming season and the ball being thrown and people catching the football, all that good stuff, there was something that caught my eye and it had me curious, and that has to do with our beloved quarterback Josh Allen. And you're probably wondering, Rico, where are you going with this, man? Like, what are we doing here, kid? What are we talking about here? So, feast your eyes on this photo here, and I'm gonna try to get this out here for the people. I want you to focus on Josh's right arm, which is the sleeve. You see that sleeve? Okay. I don't want you to focus on the sleeve. I want you to go to the other arm, and you're gonna notice something on Josh's left hand. Do you see that dark thing on Josh's hand? Do you see that?
I think I do. I see that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a wedding band, ladies and gentlemen. Josh is wearing his wedding band in his photos. So then it had me wondering. We love Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick was known to wear his wedding band while he plays, and that brother never took it off. And we love him. Will we see Ryan Fitzpatrick 2.0 in terms of wearing the wedding band, a Buffalo Bills quarterback wearing the wedding band during the season? And will that give him that superpowers of getting that second MVP? Or is it one of those things where, like, nah, bro, I'm surprised nobody asked him if he's going to do it or not. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on athletes playing with their wedding band? I think Matthew Stafford plays with his wedding band on, and we'll see if Josh Allen's going to be playing with his wedding band. Quarterbacks playing with their wedding band, in or out.
I can't even sit at my desk with my wedding band on. I can't believe I have it on right now. I would say out of 100% meter, I have this thing on 10% of the time. I can't get used to it. I'm going on a year of marriage here. I cannot get used to wearing the wedding ring. I can't sleep with it on. I can't sleep with it on. I can't use the keyboard. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I've never worn jewelry my entire life, never worn a necklace, never worn a watch, obviously never worn a ring. I feel it there at all times. Like subconsciously, I know it's there. And I feel like after a while, the majority of people who've been married forever, it becomes a part of you and you don't even realize it. But for me, I subconsciously know it's there all the time. So it'll be interesting. It's funny you bring this up because I was wondering the same thing. Like, do you wear it? I'm sure you don't wear the actual wedding band that you exchange during the wedding. I bet you wear like a silicone one or something like that. But if it were me, I wouldn't. Now, I was wondering, like, if you were Tua, left-handed quarterback, like, then do you wear it? I think it's different, with a righty quarterback. You're not really using your left hand much at all. The left-handed quarterback, that's where it gets interesting to me because that's the hand you're gripping the ball with and throwing it. Right. It'll be interesting to see if he wears it. I'll tell you one thing, though. The guy, he just seems like a light was just beamed within him, meeting and marrying Haley Steinfeld. He was asked about it today, and he was like a little kid with it. He was like blushing about it, and he was like, I think you said it could be a superpower. I think this is the happiest Allen has been, just in terms of the body language and the way he seems to come across when you hear him speak or when you just hear him address the media or whatever. I think that there's something to that. We saw a couple of years ago, it just felt like Allen wasn't in the best space and just in terms of, I don't know, it just kind of felt like he wasn't as happy as he is now. It feels different. It feels tangible. It just feels like Allen is in a much better mental space and he comes across as such. And I think that there's something to that. So congrats to him. He's had a hell of a year here. If he can cap it off with a home AFC championship game in Buffalo and a Super Bowl ring, find me somebody who's had a better calendar year than Josh Allen has if that were to come to fruition.
Well, listen, I love to see it. Josh Allen flaunting that wedding band like a man. You know what I mean? So I love to see it. And if it's silicone or not, it's the representation. You love to see it. And sir, shame on you. Leave that freaking ring on your hand at all times. That's what it is. You do it.
I know. Caroline's just as bad as I am, by the way, though. I'll go into the shower and I'll see both wedding rings sitting on the side of the shower. So
yeah, you young bucks, man. Listen, this ring is the scratches and it's character. You know what I mean? What the mayor just been through. You know what I mean? All that good stuff. But anyway, that's me getting on my soft spot. But good for Josh, married man now, and we got a big year coming for Josh. But I got something to say about Josh because this is a big year for Josh, and I've been mulling over how can Josh get another MVP? Do you believe Josh is capable of getting another MVP this year? Knowing that people are saying, hey, man, that offense is not going to be the same. Don't expect to put 30 points a game and be the number one offense, including playoffs. Don't expect this or don't expect that and look for the regression. I mean, we heard that last year. And with that information, he said, you know what? Let me get that MVP. So before I get into my thoughts on Josh becoming MVP, what are your thoughts? Is this going to be a repeat year for him, or is this somebody else's turn? You know how the league is; they find somebody else to prop up. But sometimes, if you like that, you're like that. What are your thoughts on Josh Allen and becoming a MVP? Because I got some thoughts on that.
I 100% think Josh Allen will be in the running again for MVP at the end of the 2025 season. Now, do I think the Bills' offense is going to regress somewhat this upcoming year? I do. If the Bills' offense does not regress in 2025, then we're talking about the greatest show on turf type territory here. If they can go out again, average 31 points per game, rattle off 2 months straight of scoring 30-plus points, if Josh Allen can pull off a 6th consecutive 40-plus touchdown season, if he can keep the turnover rate down, this offensive line can play the way that they have been playing the last couple of years to the point where Josh Allen was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL last year, then, I mean, we're talking about all-time stuff here. Now, when I say it's going to regress, I don't think it's going to regress to the mean. I think it's just going to tick down a bit because last year was just so extraordinary. But I think a tick down for the Bills offense is still better than 99% of the offenses in the NFL. If Josh Allen or Josh Allen will be in the running for an MVP again if this offense is even remotely similar to what it was a season ago. Here's the bright spot, right? Here's the silver lining. Here's how this can come about. This Buffalo Bills schedule, we've talked about it. It's awfully favorable. If this Bills offense ever had an opportunity to repeat what they did a season ago, it would be this upcoming year. You have the last year in the stadium, which I think is going to add some fuel to the fire, right? Really want to go out with a bang and leave a mark on the old high mark. Not only that, though, the schedule in place, it is what it is. It's one of the easiest in the NFL. And the Bills were running through teams last year. And you could argue that they've gotten better offensively this offseason. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out. But say Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore are just slightly better than what the Bills got out of Matt Collins and Amari Cooper. And say that Keon Coleman stays healthy. And say that Dalton Kincaid stays healthy. And those two take what we hope to be a noticeable step forward and become the guys the Bills drafted them to be. This Bills offense, as crazy as it sounds, could be better. Or at the very worst, be the same that they were last year. I think it is certainly reasonable to expect some sort of a decline. But once again, the decline for a Buffalo Bills offense that was off the charts last year is still going to be better than the vast majority of offenses in the NFL. If the Bills are on par or even close to on par to what they were last year offensively, Josh Allen will certainly be on MVP ballots to end the season. Do you think he's going to be in the running coming up the end of next year? Do you think he's got a chance to repeat?
I absolutely believe that Josh Allen will become two-time MVP for this upcoming season. But this is the thing. He's going to have a tall task. And there are 4 ways I truly believe that if Josh is to win this MVP, here's how he's got to do it. Number 1, he's got to keep the trend up of not turning the ball over. We remember the dreadful year where he had over 18 turnovers in a season. Everyone was talking about Josh Allen turning the ball over. This guy can't get it together. And then the year after, he comes in and gives you less than 10 turnovers. Are you kidding me? He gives you another season of 40-plus touchdowns. That's 5 straight years of 40 touchdowns or more. This guy is undeniable. So that's the first thing. If he can continue to give us 40-plus touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions and 10 turnovers, bro, that's number 1 point. That's how he's going to get his MVP. Number 2, he's got to continue to be that dual threat dominant monster that he is. 12 touchdowns on the ground last year, 15 the year before. This guy is a dominant dual threat, one of the best in the game, if not the best. Lamar Jackson is sensational, but there's something a little different about that kid named Josh Allen. Dual threat dominance, that's what you need from my man. He is nice like that. Number 3, you got to get that number 1 seed. AFC East dominance is great, but you need the number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, my man Z-Bot talked about it a long time ago. 2 seed used to be great. Not anymore. It's all about the number 1 seed. Number 1 seed surely moves him up in order to get him back in position to get that MVP. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, you got to beat the top dogs in the game. You got to beat the top dogs in the game. You already know the teams that we play this year. We play the Eagles. We play the Ravens. We play the Bengals. We have the freaking Chiefs. You guys already know what time it is. So not only do you have to beat those teams, but you got to outplay Pat Mahomes. You got to outplay Lamar Jackson. You got to outplay Joe Burrow. You got to outplay Jalen Hurts. You got to outplay the big dogs because those are the games that matter. Let's go back to last year. The back and forth with the Detroit Lions, right? The Bills are in it. They're going back and forth, and Josh prevails and takes over against the Rams. We should have won that game, but it was the fact that he went toe-to-toe with the Rams, and he was on fire. These are the things that need to happen with my man's Josh Allen. If he wants to win this MVP, those are the 4 things. And I'm going to give it the last one. Elevate and continue to elevate the guys around you. The Khalil Shakirs, the Kincaids of the world, right? The James Cookses of the world, right? The Keon Colemans. Those guys you want to see elevate because if those guys' games elevate, guess what? It circles right back to Josh Allen. And that should end up getting him his second MVP. And I truly believe this is the freaking year for the Bills to do it. Not only can he win the damn MVP, not only can he get that number 1 seed, but boy, would it be nice for us to be able to win it this year. And then raise the banner next year in the new stadium. Boy, let me ring my Listen, it sounded so good to
This
see.
is how that sounds to me.
It
That's
sounded
just
so good to
serenading me.
My man's eyes were closed and says, yeah, I like it. I like it. But that's how my man's gets his second MVP. But boy, is he going to have some challengers coming for that spot. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Boy, listen, the young quarterback in Washington is going to be something, man. But I'm looking forward to this year. This year is going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. We just got to stay healthy. Let's make it happen. And looking forward to seeing how Josh kills it this year. But I love it. I love it. Now, can we pivot?
Of course.
Around the NFL, baby. What are we talking about? What's happening around the NFL? I got 2 names that I want to touch on. Which one do you want to touch on first?
Well, I think we have to go with the denouement of the week.
Oh, the denouement.
And discuss our good pal A-Rod. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was a long time coming. It wasn't like we didn't know this was going to happen. But allegedly, the Steelers said he was the 3rd choice. They were going after Matthew Stafford, allegedly, and they wanted Justin Fields. They wanted Fields to be their guy, but I didn't think that was happening. I think that's cap. The whole time, I think they wanted Rodgers, but Rodgers didn't want to do the OTAs, and he didn't want them to be in this whole, well, looks like Rodgers did it again. He ain't showing up. He's going to the retreat. He's going to smoke that whatever nonsense he's smoking. Well, folks, it's all said and done. My man Rodgers is with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the real question is, does he fit? Does he fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers? With Mike Tomlin, DK Metcalf? Talk to me. What are your thoughts?
Isn't it incredible what a couple of years will do? 2 years ago, this time of the year, 2 years ago, you couldn't turn on the radio, the TV, your phone without hearing something about the Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets hype.
Yes.
It was all anybody could talk about. And not only did they want to talk about it because obviously one of the all-time greats is leaving where he cemented himself as one of those greats and going to the biggest city in the world and playing for the Jets and trying to bring them out of mediocrity where they've been stuck in for the last decade and a half. Not only were they being talked about because of that, but they were being talked about because many people believed that Aaron Rodgers was going to immediately make the New York Jets an AFC East contender, an AFC contender, and a Super Bowl contender. They weren't just talking about the Jets getting risen out of the depths of mediocrity. They were talking about the Jets ascending to the top of the league, and we all know how that wound up going down. But just a couple of years ago, it was the Aaron Rodgers show no matter where you tuned in. 2 years later, and now we've been waiting to hear this be confirmed for a while. It got confirmed, and yeah, it was the major story of the day, but it wasn't like you dropped everything you were doing and said to your buddy, oh my God, did you see Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers? It's just kind of, it is what it is now. And maybe that's because it was known for a while this was going to happen. But I think it's more so the perception that everybody now has of Aaron Rodgers, where it's, yeah, he's still good, but we don't view Aaron Rodgers as a guy that's going to come in and immediately make Pittsburgh a Super Bowl contender. This to me, though, Rico, is where this to me right here is where it gets a little scary, though. The hype was so high for Rodgers to the Jets that it was never going to meet the expectations. Is there really a whole lot of hype right now around the Pittsburgh Steelers now that they have Aaron Rodgers? I think the hype surrounding the Steelers right now is the same as it always is. They also added DK Metcalf. Yep. So you got Rodgers coming into that team. Rodgers is going to a Pittsburgh Steelers team, Rico, that has not had a losing season since 2003.
That's incredible.
It's insane. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not had a losing season since 2003. One thing you can guarantee, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have a winning record. And with a winning record comes a fighting shot at one of the 7 playoff seeds. With a winning record comes a shot at winning that AFC North. And even though we don't view Aaron Rodgers as we once did just a handful of years ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been able to get to the playoffs with Kenny Pickett and Duck Hodges. I think it'd be foolish to think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be knocking on the door of one of those 7 AFC playoff spots. And if they get in, we know how dangerous they can be. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the league. That defense is always ready to go. And regardless of what that team has on its roster, they just find a way to scum up the game week in and week out and steal a handful of games that they had no business in winning. I think it's the polar opposite of the Jets situation, where the hype was so massive that it was never going to come to fruition. I think that this is just under the radar enough to where we're going to look midway through the year, and the Steelers might not be the Bills or the Chiefs or the Ravens, but you're going to look and say, hey, Pittsburgh's right there, and they feel like they deserve to be there. Last year, they were rolling to begin the year, and they never felt like a viable threat. This year, I think that they're going to. And it's not because Aaron Rodgers is going to return to MVP form, but it's because the Pittsburgh Steelers have not had an adequate quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger was a couple of years away from retiring. We know how it looked the last year or two for Roethlisberger before he retired.
Yep.
This is the best quarterback situation that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in several years, and they've made the playoffs multiple times within that window. I think the Steelers are going to be competitive this year. And even though that AFC North is an absolute gauntlet, having to go against Burrow twice and Lamar twice, I think Pittsburgh is going to be right on the doorstep of the playoffs. And I think they're going to be a team that's going to be a tough out once they get in.
I'm going to agree with you. But here's where things might you know what I mean, differ. I might differ in this case. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but Rodgers going to the Steelers is great for the offense. It's fantastic. That's the best quarterback they've had in a long time. But what keeps and makes the Steelers relevant is their defense. And on their defense, they have a guy by the name of TJ Watt that is an absolute monster. Guess what? TJ Watt's holding out. He wants his monies right now. So if they want any chance of going and keeping that streak alive of not having a losing record, buddy, you better sign this brother right now. You better sign him, because it will be irrelevant that we talk about Rodgers and what he can do for this offense and so on and so forth if this defense is not worth a damn. Now, I'm not putting it all on TJ Watt, but he is a big part of why that Steelers defense is who they are, because he's that good. But that combination, if they have that, and I think they will take care of him, they'll probably make him the highest paid, which is going to piss off Trey Hendrickson, but that's neither here nor there. That is going to be something else for them to deal. But back to Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get on TJ Watt in just a little bit. Back to Aaron Rodgers. Listen, I know people want to say that he's washed and he's this and he's that. If you go to the Jets, what do you expect is going to happen? The Jets blow. They don't respect the offensive line. They clearly didn't, because if you saw how Aaron Rodgers got hurt initially, is off of poor offensive line play. So let's not even talk about that. So now you get him a gritty offensive. I mean, you see what the offensive line is going to be producing at the Pittsburgh Steelers. You give him time. You let him find time with the good receivers they have on that squad with DK and a plethora of, some up and coming receivers. Bro, they could be just fine. They could be just fine, man. So don't sleep on Aaron Rodgers having a good year. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to elevate Mike Tomlin, and they'll be a force. Here's the problem. They're in the AFC North. They're in the AFC North. Joe Burrow is pissed. He's on a vengeance tour. He's going to be on a vengeance tour. He got both his boys back, paid. They're trying to work something with that defense. They had a decent draft. So, he's going to be in it. The Ravens are pissed. They're sick of it. They want nothing to do with, trying to not make the playoffs all over again or losing the playoffs, because right now it's not looking good for them playoff rise. So you got those two guys. And then, need I say more? Then you got Pittsburgh Steelers with Aaron Rodgers. Is it going to be enough? The real question is it going to be enough? I feel like I'm missing a team in the NFC, in the AFC that I'm missing. I said Baltimore, and the Cleveland Browns. Who cares about Cleveland? We'll see what takes place. But Aaron to the Patriots, to the Steelers is a good move. I like it. It's the best quarterback they've had in a long time. Is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be enough? That's my bother. Is it going to be enough? Especially with TJ Watt holding out. We'll see how that plays out.
I don't think it'll be enough for them to ascend to the top of the AFC, but I certainly think it'll be enough for them to get back to where they were
17?
last year. Yeah, well, last year they make the playoffs and they get run out of the building by Baltimore in the wild card round.
Oh yeah.
I think at the very minimum, they get back to where they were last year, and if they lose in the wild card, they go out in a valiant effort compared to last year. I just can't help but think that they get noticeably better with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. What they've been able to do in the interim period between now and when Ben Roethlisberger retired is honestly kind of extraordinary, to be 100% honest with you. It's pretty remarkable what they've been able to pull off with who they've pulled it off with. This is the best situation they've had in a while. I don't expect there to be some renaissance in Pittsburgh where all of a sudden we're looking at them like we did in the late 2000s or whatever. We're not going to be looking at them like we did during the prime Roethlisberger time. But this is a team that has found ways to win without Aaron Rodgers. And you said it, Rico. There's something to be said about going to an organization that is as refined and well-run as Pittsburgh is. And that could rejuvenate Aaron Rodgers. You go to dysfunction, you become dysfunctional. Now, don't get it twisted. Aaron Rodgers certainly contributed massively to an already dysfunctional organization with the New York Jets. He certainly brought plenty of dysfunction to the table that was already loaded up with it. But this year, you're not bringing dysfunction with Mike Tomlin around. I don't think that's going to fly. The Steelers they're one of the most storied franchises in all of sports. And it transcends far beyond Aaron Rodgers and who he is as one individual. And I think he's going to look at this knowing this is my swan song here. This is my last opportunity. And I have a chance here to kind of white out what happened with the Jets. I think you're going to get the best version of Aaron Rodgers you could possibly get at this stage of his career.
Here's the deal. We talk about how storied the franchise is. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Mike Tomlin. I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin. I'm sure that you're a big fan of Tomlin. Or you might think overrated. He needs to go. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. So I was looking at the addition of Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and then now this whole holdout with TJ Watt. Then I'm looking at what they've done the last 10 years. What has Pittsburgh done the last 10 years that would have Pittsburgh excited? Like, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, the last 10 years, 2015, lost in the divisional round to the Broncos. 2016, lost conference championship to the Patriots. Right? 2017, lost divisional round to the Jaguars. Missed the playoffs in 2018. Missed the playoffs in 2019, although they had a winning record. Right? Lost in the wild card to the Browns. In 2020. Okay? Lost to the wild card to the Chiefs. Missed the playoffs in 22. Missed the playoffs in 23. Wild card round loss to the Bills. Wild card round loss to the Ravens. Bro, what are you excited about? We keep either missing the playoffs or we're getting bounced out in the freaking wild card game. So does this move the needle for anybody? If you're Pittsburgh Steelers, is your needle moved? Are you raising the table? In the words of my man Bot, is this table going to be raised at all? Heck no. So how do you get excited for that? It's like the Bills. I mean, losing, we lost for 20 years and pathetic as we thought we were doing it. Here comes Fitzpatrick. JP Losman. Like, bro, you can get excited all you want, but the same freaking results happen every time where something's got to give. Something's got to give. We had to be poor and move some things around in order for us to get Josh Allen. The Pittsburgh Steelers got to strategize here because you got to figure something out on what you got at quarterback. Now, maybe they got some, I believe in Will Campbell, not Will Campbell, quarterback that's out there, right?
Oh, Levis?
Not Levis, the Pittsburgh quarterback.
Oh, Will Howard.
Something.
Will Howard.
Maybe they have something Will Howard. We'll see. But bro, it's hard to be excited for the Pittsburgh Steelers knowing, bro, we haven't done diddly squat. We haven't done diddly squat. And now Aaron Rodgers, the 42-year-old, the 43-year-old, is supposed to woo me. We will see. We'll see. So kudos to them. They got the best quarterback. Hopefully this like you said, I love what you said. Maybe this just wakes Aaron Rodgers up. You're part of a franchise that cares from top to bottom. Let's roll. Let's do it. And he's not getting paid. So at this point, he's made millions in his career. So this is about the love of the game and maybe trying to cement his career with trying to get these guys to the playoffs. And then this might be his swan song season. But we'll see how it all plays out at the end. But I mean, as a Pittsburgh Steelers, like, how do you get excited for that? It's tough. That's tough, bro. That's tough.
I think you get excited because you made the playoffs the last 2 years, despite your quarterback being a declining Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, who really didn't get a fair shake. And then Kenny Pickett and just a rotating door of other quarterbacks. You went 10-7 the last 2 years, made the playoffs those 2 years, despite losing in the wild card round in, pretty dominant fashion. You still got to that point with a lot of dysfunction at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers had a pretty decent year last year. Like, statistically, it wasn't mind-blowing, but it wasn't bad by any means. And I think that if you bring that to the table in Pittsburgh, I think that could be the solution, at least for now, that they've been looking for. Once again, it's not going to be this massive resurgence that's going to accelerate them to the top of the league, but they've been right in the mix with a lot of dysfunction at the quarterback position. I think if not for anything else, Aaron Rodgers stabilizes that position. And who knows, with what Pittsburgh's been able to do the last couple of years without a solution at quarterback, maybe that stabilization is all that they needed to get past the wild card round and make some noise in the postseason. Because Aaron Rodgers last year, the Jets were more of the problem than Aaron Rodgers himself seemed to be the problem. And we saw what ended up occurring.
Agreed.
Because of that. It was a clean sweep, firing the GM, firing the head coach. So I think Aaron Rodgers is being put in a great spot. We talk about it all the time. Where you land really matters. You land in New York, I don't care if it's the Jets or the Giants, your work's cut out for you. You land in Pittsburgh, you're in about as good of a position as you can be in sports. And I think that that's going to show itself this year with Rodgers.
If the Bills didn't exist, would you be a Steelers fan?
Hell no. I don't even know what I'd be doing. That's a great question. I couldn't even imagine. Well, I don't even know what that would look like.
Answer the freaking question. The Bills don't exist.
I did.
What are you rooting for?
The Bills don't exist, and I don't even know if it's hard to even imagine what I would be.
Well, imagine
I don't know how sad that is, but it's somewhat true. I'd be a completely different person.
I need an answer. Pick a team. AFC or AFC, NFC.
Pick one team in each.
I'm trying to help you out to see what team you would go for. NFC, AFC. I'm trying to, then we can eliminate and then we can go from there. The Bills do not exist. They're not even a team, right? All of a sudden, they said, you know what, we're folding. We're not a team anymore, and we're not even going anywhere else. We're just done. Who do you root for?
Dude, I guess I'd have no choice but to just become a baseball guy. Talking about RBIs and talking about the good old days. Yeah, did you catch game 164 last night of the season? It was phenomenal. It was a triple header.
I'm not letting you off the hook, bro. You're gonna have to answer this one. The Bills do not exist. You have to pick a team to root for. It might take you some time to get used to it, but you got to pick a team. I have a feeling you're going to pick an AFC team. Something tells me the Broncos.
There's something pulling me to them because I love their color scheme. My luck, I'd probably be a Browns fan. Proximity, right, would probably be the closest team to where I grew up. There's no way in hell I'd be a Jets or Giants fan. Cleveland's just as close to Rochester as New York City is.
Yep.
I'd probably be a Browns fan. If I had my choice, though, if I had to base it simply off of aesthetics and a team that I really enjoyed watching growing up, probably the prime Seattle Seahawks. I really enjoyed watching that team. Russell Wilson's prime, Pete Carroll's prime. I really enjoyed watching that team during the Legion of Boom. That was a fun team to watch. One of my favorite games of all time was the NFC Championship between the Seahawks and the Packers where Seattle recovered an onside kick. They scored like 17 points in the final 3 minutes of regulation. It was insane. So maybe them. I've always loved the neon green. So maybe them. But man, that's the worst question I've ever been asked.
I mean, to go travel all the way across the country to go watch your Seattle Seahawks, bro, it's tough. That's tough, bro.
Yeah, that's why I said I'd probably. You know what's funny? The only reason I'm a Bills fan is because my dad was just a massive OJ fan growing up. Like my dad's favorite number is 32. Like it wasn't like there was this, incredible lineage to becoming a fan. And I think about that sometimes. Like if OJ played for, I don't know, Pittsburgh, like we're talking about, I could be doing we could be doing the Rico and Bot show live from Primanti Brothers right now. I mean, that's just how different things could be. It's funny how that ends up working, where you make one choice, whether it was on purpose or not, and it becomes a massive, massive part of your life.
I think this is a fascinating question because we love the Bills so much, and you don't even look at any other teams. There's teams you respect, but you don't root for them. So then I'm looking at everybody's responses, and I love the fact that the chat right now is getting in. We got Commanders fans here. We got Buccaneers. I got Detroit. Somebody said Detroit. Seahawks. The Bears being one of them. Very, very fascinating, man. Eagles. I don't know if I can go Eagles, but
there's so many teams I could rule out, though. I'll tell you that. It would be way easier to rule teams out.
Here's the thing. If I were to root for a team, not the Bills, this team needs a fan base that is absolutely wild. They love their team. They love their team and they die for their team. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, uniform is a big thing for me. I need a team that if I can rep this uniform and I can wear it with anything, it's cool. Seattle's, I don't know if I can rock with that uni. That uni combo, that doesn't do it for me. So then if I were to choose a team, I don't know, man. I think that looking at history of a team and proximity-wise is somewhat close that I can go visit. Probably Pittsburgh, bro. Pittsburgh will probably be the squad. I'd be pissed if I was a Pittsburgh fan and we just sitting here just good enough to just not do diddly squad. I'd be pissed. But the owner's legit. The fan base is legit. They love their squad. You know what I'm saying? They draft well every year, bro. Like it wouldn't be the Steelers would be not bad a squad. And you're in a division where I can still hate the Ravens. I can still hate the Bengals.
The Chiefs.
I mean, I can still hate the Chiefs. All that, man. So
do you know the Steelers have had 3 head coaches since 1970?
It's crazy. Bill Cowher, freaking Tomlin, and who was the one? Knox? Not Knox.
Chuck Noll.
Chuck Noll.
That's it. That's
incredible, man.
It truly is one of the greatest franchises in all of sports. But I just thought of something when you were talking about a rabid fan base, and I think I came to my answer. That I would, if the Bills didn't exist, I'd probably lean the Green Bay Packers. You're getting everything.
You know what? That would be legit. Yes. Legit.
The Green Bay Packers are the Midwest Buffalo Bills to some degree. Small town. You're never going to find a more diehard fan base. And I think that would make some sort of sense. I
might even rock over to the Eagles. That fan base is insane.
I feel like you gotta be from the Philly area to be doing it.
You know what? You're right though. You can't just. I mean, one of my homeboys is an Eagles fan, but he has family in Philly, so he's just indoctrinated into that. But you're right though. To be a Philly fan, you gotta be.
You gotta be a Pennsylvania guy. Yeah.
Facts, big time facts, man. So yeah, I guess. So you're Green Bay. You switch.
I guess I would go. I would be a cheesehead if in a different universe.
You know what?
Oh, that makes me sick.
I was about to say. My man gave me the jazz hands. Oh, that makes me sick.
You ever think about that though? Like, it's weird. Like, it's just weird.
Hell no. I would never be a Cowboys fan.
Like I told you earlier, it would be so easy to rule out teams. Dallas is the instant number one team ruled out instantly.
Yo, absolutely not to them. I'd definitely not be the Dolphins. I can't stand their uniforms. The uniforms is putrid. The Jets out of here. Oh my gosh, get out of here. No way. No can.
You'd
no
catch me dead before you saw that Cowboy star anywhere on me. Anywhere.
No, listen, every time I think Cowboys, and it's It's burned into my memory. The Cowboy starter pack, cut off jean shorts, the jersey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an Emmitt Smith jersey, a varsity jacket, a hat that looks ridiculous, and a pair of Tim boots.
Bro, don't even give them Tims. They're just wearing white Air Forces.
Yes.
Some Skechers. Some white Air Forces or some Skechers and some shades. They need some blocked out shades. You're a Cowboys fan. Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. I'm like Mike Singletary. Can't win with them. You can't nothing. I'm not doing nothing with those Dallas Cowboys. No thanks.
Why is it that you never see a Cowboys fan wearing a modern day jersey? They only have an Emmitt Smith jersey, and they all have the same starter varsity jacket from 1992. Every one of them.
It's awful. Is it awful? I'll tell you, man. I had to ask that. By the way, if it's not the Pittsburgh Steelers, it'd definitely be the Raiders. I'd be
Raiders
a Raiders
would be
fan.
fun.
1,000%. It'd be like I'm sticking AFC. Pittsburgh, Raiders, that's it. Nobody in the AFC.
But could you imagine continuing to live through the mediocrity that we lived in through my entire life up till Allen? Because that's what it is.
No.
I mean, I just couldn't even imagine it. And the Bills got good right at a really like transcendent time in my life where I was becoming an adult. Like the Bills got good right around when I was graduating college. Right. Like, so I couldn't imagine having gone to this point and just having seen no success at all.
Bro, listen, Alton Venezuela, you said it, man. Freaking Cortezes.
I don't even know what that is.
Bro, let me look up. Let me tell you. You know what it is because you've seen it. I used to rock Nike Cortez shoes all the time. Those are comfortable as ever. That is what a Dallas Cowboy fan would be wearing. Yo, Alton, you're on it. Nike Cortez. Bro, when I show you what they are, you're going to be like, oh, I got you. That's gold. That is gold. Let me see if I can get you some Nike Cortez shoes. So oh no, that's not a good one. Hold on a second. You've seen them before. I can guarantee you've seen these Nike Cortez shoes, but I gotta show you. Okay, this is perfect. Picture this in white. Okay, Nike Cortez. These ones.
Oh God, they're like turf shoes.
That's a Cowboy fan. Get some white Nike Cortezes, some jean shorts, and a jersey, and a stupid ball cap, and a goofy look on their face. Yeah, that's a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yeah, then you'd have to just embody the whole culture. So you'd have to be like a Duke basketball fan, a Yankees fan, a Maple Leafs fan. Like you'd have to just kind of dive into the whole gamut there. You know?
Could you be a Ravens fan?
I guess I could. I don't have any. I mean, contrary to everybody else these days, I don't really have much beef with the Ravens. I respect that organization. I respect Lamar. I respect Harbaugh. I don't hate the Ravens like I hate the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs, doesn't it feel like the Ravens have been like the stepbrother in all of this with us? They've been fighting the same fight we've been fighting. And yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we've had to fight each other, but at the end of the day, it still feels like we've been in lockstep with them far more than we haven't.
We're sitting here freaking fighting each other up, and we finally realized, we're like, wait a minute, why don't we just get those guys? That's what we knew. That's what we knew to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't even know where that question came from. We just started shooting the shit, and bang, I got there. I do have one thing to Bills related that I wanted to talk to you about. Since we're in non-brand Bills, but we're gonna go back to it. There was a player made available. Apparently, the Bills had some conversation with Mr. Jaire Alexander. Your thoughts on the fact that we were interested in him? And I'm actually, it makes sense that we were interested in Jaire Alexander. The fact that we didn't pull the trigger was interesting. But my question to you is, we don't need another cornerback, do we?
No, I don't think so. The Bills just...
Are we set? Are we good at where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it made sense that they were looking into him. I think that might have been why you saw Trey White get signed, right? Even though it might not be Jaire Alexander at this point in time, they were certainly looking for that veteran presence. But you go and get Max Hairston, right? You take multiple cornerbacks in the draft, right? And you do bring in Tre'Davious White. Once again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the darts being thrown at the board. I mean, I feel like Bean was shopping anybody, right? I feel like if there was a position of need, a guy available, and he was within a certain price range, I bet you Brandon Bean was making a call. I mean, wouldn't you anticipate the same?
I think so, man. I mean, they had to do their due diligence, and we didn't. I mean, this is before we did the draft. This is not knowing what we're gonna do. Buddy, I mean, we just let go of we let him walk. So I mean, like at the end of the day, we needed to do something. And then the draft fell the way it did. Trey White coming back, so a lot of movements were made. But I mean, they were looking into it. Is it too late? I mean, you'd have a great depth at corner. Great depth. But I guess we just don't need that player. It's one of those things. I mean, there's having depth is one thing, but then now you're like, okay, so how are you going to get this player on the field? I mean, he's got to outplay somebody. So it'd be something. But I wouldn't rule it out. Then saying we're gonna bring him in, and Brandon Beam would be pretty much telling me, bro, I want the best product on the field, and y'all duke it out and fight it out. Brandon, Sean McDermott, figure this out. I brought him to you. You figure it out. But then he's played 6 games in 2 years, something stupid like that. I don't know what the number is. So he's missed quite a few games. So it's like, do you even bother with it? But he'd be a damn good player if he was healthy. Golly, would he ever be? But he's just not the same player. It's not the same player.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I wouldn't stun me, but I feel like the Bills might be set there. I feel like they might be all right with what they have right now and going into the season. Yeah, I would think if I had to make a bet on it, I would say the Bills are probably out on that now.
I think I'm with you, man. So let's. I got a couple of super chats that I want to hit on.
Do it.
What are your thoughts on this one here, there, big fella? Signified Nose, member for 14 months. Before we, you know what? Hold on, Signified. Let me go back to that because I got to give a big shout out over here. Give me a sec here. Let me open this up because I'm looking for it. Where is that? I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this, Z-Bot?
Oh, I did not see it because if I would have saw it, I would have made sure to tell you to hit that button.
Ladies and gentlemen, JTL became a new YouTube member. What up? Big time love shown to my guy JTL, folks. We might as well get into it now because we are launching something super special soon, and it takes a lot of support from you guys, and you guys have been supporting a long time. So join the squad. It's simple. Do what my man JTL just did because we have something that's gonna be rolling out soon. That's gonna be great for everybody. So join in. I'm just giving you the heads up now. So join in now so we can get to it because it's gonna be fun. We're rolling out something really new for you guys. It's gonna be great. So shout out to my guy JTL. Welcome to the Bing Squad. I don't want to say Bing Squad anymore. We gotta find something else, man.
Well, I think we've shopped. I think the new name might be the BF Huddle. Is that?
Oh, wait, listen,
we've shopped?
Don't say anything yet.
I won't say much more, but I will say becoming a member. We appreciate every one of you.
Absolutely.
And we want to show that even more this year. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline for members only. So like Rico said, do what JTL did. Get out ahead of it because that's coming down the pipeline and we're real excited for it.
Yeah, you guys have been such a support. So we want to be able to bring something that's member based and member centric. So let's go, man. Let's get it cracking. So let me get back to it. We were looking at Signified Nose. It says, Rico, how about your boy Stefon Diggs? I haven't been on stream in a while.
Oh,
I don't know if you've talked about it. What an upstanding citizen, real Boy Scout. Well, let me leave this up for a little bit. Listen, what you do in the off season is your business. What you do in the off season is your business. However, if it gets back to the team because you know what I mean, you filming yourself or somebody filmed you, fam, it's everyone's gonna talk about it, and you gotta listen. If you didn't want that business out there, then don't be filming yourself and be out there. So don't be surprised if people try to ask you about these questions, and it almost makes you kind of say, I get it. I get why the Bills were like, yo, I'll eat $31 million. I'm not dealing with this. And now he's the Patriots problem. Now, I still think he's going to be a damn good player. I'm a fan of Stefon Diggs, the football player. I like his off, you know what I mean, like family stuff. I resonate with that. But all this other extracurricular stuff, I'm not with it. You know what I mean? Giving pink stuff and this, that, and the third, I don't like it. And you just signed to a new team, bro. Chill out.
Mike Vrabel-led team, by the way.
Yeah,
one scary ass dude.
No nonsense. Like he's been a player in the game. It's not like he's Pete Carroll. chewing gum that you can pass that on Pete Carroll and play in Pete Carroll's face. Vrabel will pin your ass against the locker room and say, "Yo, chill out, man." So
I want to just say in defense of Pete Carroll, if there was one 70-year-old that could pin your ass up against the wall, I'd like to think it's Pete Carroll. That guy could run circles around me right now. That guy's incredible.
I saw Pete Carroll getting some action the other day, wrestling with some of his guys on the field. But yeah, man, I don't like it. I mean, I wouldn't like it if it was Khalil Shakir in that situation as a fan, although it's in the offseason. It's just a bad look. Yep. It's a bad look on the team. It's a bad look on the character, right? Because now I'm like, yo, that's you? That's what you do? Bro, like, yo, what's going on, man? But you know what I mean? Everyone gets paid to do a job. So if he comes in and does his job, it's all forgotten. But if he comes in and he's not as good as this, bro, you're going to hear the murmurs even louder. What are your thoughts on Stefon Diggs and the extracurricular stuff that's out there?
You know I don't like it. You know what? If there's one thing I hate the most, it's stuff like this. This is why I've praised the Bills so many times at their ability to avoid situations like this and go out of their way to not have stuff like this dominate their news cycle. I think that they've done one of the better jobs in the league of creating a culture that avoids stuff like this. Now, you said it. What you do in the offseason, it's on you.
Yep.
What I can't understand about this situation is you see somebody with a phone in your face and you're just nonchalantly going about your business like you are not a massive celebrity that's going to have to answer to this. Like, I even think about my own personal situation. I remember one time I was in a car with my friends and I was telling an embarrassing story, like a story that I wouldn't just share to anybody. It was like a story you'd share amongst friends. It was a funny story about something that had happened to me. And I remember I turned around and one of my friends was filming the whole thing. And it just killed the whole vibe where I'm like, hey, I'm like telling you a funny story in confidence and you're about to upload this to Instagram. Like, obviously, if I wanted to share this story, I'd hop on Instagram Live and share the story. We're in the car hanging out, having a good time. I'm sharing a funny story with you. What made you feel the need to whip the phone out? And I'm just looking at it from my personal situation. And I'm like, I stopped and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I'm not telling this story to the world. I'm telling it to you guys here.
I mean, but
so how do you not just stop and be like, yo, dude, what are you doing here? We're all out on a boat here. What we're doing, like, I just, not to defend what he did, but I just can't understand the nonchalant attitude, knowing that you are a big celebrity and you got a phone in your face.
Well, hold on. Let me push back a little bit, because these days, these guys are wearing glasses with cameras on the thing. You don't know what's going on these days, who's filming what, and so on and so forth. And people are doing IG and stuff like that. So what are you going to say? Yo, don't do that. It looks even worse when you're like, yo, what are you doing? And they upload that. What was Stefon scared of, or what was he doing? The answer to that: don't put yourself in that position.
No doubt. That's step one.
You don't blame Diddy for saying, yo, camera's gone. No cameras in here. We're going to do a freak off. We're going to do a freak off correctly. No cameras. I mean, clearly I'm joking, but you get the point. It's not a good look whatsoever. But by the way, and you should be flattered. Your friend was thinking you're hilarious. He's like, yo, Z-Bot's
about to say
something funny. Let me record that.
That's the thing. Like, it was all well intended, but I'm also somebody, like, you ever go to a concert? Obviously, I go to a million of them. And you look around and the amount of people that are just like this. The whole show.
Oh, yeah.
They're all, and then you go on their Facebook afterwards and there's 25 minutes of a concert, as if someone's going to sit there and be like, yo, did you see what Joe posted on his Facebook? He put up 25 minutes of the show. You can barely hear it. He's talking through the whole thing. It's one of the best things I've seen on social media all year. I don't understand. This is a side tangent. It doesn't even have anything to do with the Diggs thing, really. But
go ahead, do it.
I just don't understand. And I love tech more than the next guy. But this infatuation with having to whip the phone out and record every single minor detail of your day ad nauseum. I mean, I get it's great. You love documenting stuff.
You don't like that.
No, I like it in spurts. Like, it just feels like I don't like being in a situation where every single thing that, like, no matter what it is, just has to have a phone involved at all times.
My man said, yo, Rico, you got an Android. We need to upgrade you to an iPhone. Listen, let me tell you something, folks. I'm team Android all day, and I don't shy away from it.
Don't let him fool you. He's got both, and I refuse to text him on the Android. I only text him on the iPhone.
However, I do have an iPhone that I use for work, solely for work, and to FaceTime some of the family, because they all got iPhones. But there's something about an Android that just I went from a Motorola. Then I had the BlackBerry. I went from BlackBerry, and then once I went from BlackBerry to the Samsung, it was over. It was over with. It was the micro SD that did it for me, and I stayed Team Android, and I will always stay Team Android all day. It's just not going to change. Simple as that. iPhone.
You like having the interchangeable storage. That's what's doing it for you.
Listen, and the fact that my mom has an iPhone, and no, I'm not interested. No thanks.
See, I'm the opposite. My whole family has it, but my mom. So like when we're doing the group chat, yep, it's green. You do a double tap reaction, it comes through as a whole separate message. Come on, everyone. You know, if you know, you know.
He said, "Come on."
If you know, you know. Rico has an iPhone. I only text him on the iPhone.
It's true. It's facts. And sometimes he'll send me a message, and I'll get home. Real talk. I'll get home. I'll toss this one to the side and just have this one. And then I'll like, oh shoot, to some people that message me, and the Zibot's like, he sent me like 2 messages. Yo, we doing it?
Only me. It's probably only me. And the thing is, I'll go 2 days without getting. I'll message you on Facebook before I hit up that Android.
You're probably right to do that.
You know what I mean?
You're probably right to do that. But yeah, I'm Team Android all day. It's not gonna change, and nobody's gonna change my mind. My man said, "Yo, Rico, what's the red thing on your head?" Paul Costa. I'm trying to think of something clever to say.
One day we should do a switch where I wear that and you wear the bent brim, just to see how hilarious the switch would be.
I would love it. Yeah, this is what you call a do-rag. So this is I'll tell you this. This is a silk do-rag. It's a silk do-rag. So black folk will know what this is, and not the do-rag, but what the purpose of the silk do-rag is like you put a regular do-rag, you sleep on the pillow, it messes up, you know what I mean, like a haircut that you got or whatnot. The silk do-rag allows you to kind of slide that, and nothing happens to the lineup, nothing happens to anything. It's cool, it's great, it's fantastic, and that's the do-rag, man. So it's called a do-rag, my guy. It's a do-rag, keeps the lineup fresh, and we're good to go. I'm actually due for a lineup next week, so I got to keep it as preserved as much as I can. So thank y'all. Thanks for the question. That was a fair question. My man said, "Hey Zebot, dinner's." Oh, my man, it is Caroline. Caroline's like, "Dinner's ready." Yes, babe.
We got to see how that seasoning game was on the shrimp.
Let me tell you something, man. Zebot, I appreciate Zebot for many reasons, but one reason that really made it stand out to say, "Yo, that's my boy." My man said, "Yo, when I season, I season." And I was like, "What do you mean season?" Because people like, I mean, a lot of my white friends are like, "Salt and pepper is good enough for me," and I don't know about that. But see, Zebot's like, "Yo, onion pepper, freaking garlic pepper, yo, sazon." He's putting everything in there. When he does this and a few more things, bro, he likes his food. You know what I mean, savory. You love that.
Savory.
I gotta tell you a quick story. I went. My wife. She had a gig where she was taking care of an elderly woman at one point, and she says, because we appreciate you so much, we'd love to have you over for dinner. And I'm like, oh God, I'm already a picky individual to begin with. We'd like to have you over for dinner. Now she's an older English woman, so we go over there, and she made lamb, a rack of lamb.
Ooh, this is already going in a way better direction than I thought.
She made a rack of lamb.
One of my favorites.
I was like, oh, usually when you walk into a home, the first thing that someone says, even though if they don't mean it, "Oh, what are you cooking? It smells great in here." Bullshit. They're lying, right? Or it really does smell great. I walked into this house and smelled absolutely nothing. I was like, what? Okay, I thought we were here for dinner. She's like, "Dinner's almost ready." She put the rack of lamb on the table. No color. I was like, oh, okay. Then the Brit do things different. She had some kind of jelly sauce.
Oh yeah, the marmalade.
What is it?
I think it's marmalade.
Whatever that is. She put that out there, and she had cloves in the thing, which is fine. So I'm like thinking it's out of the oven now. I should be able to smell the aroma of everything coming from this rack of lamb. Bam. This brother was cutting through that thing. I'm thinking it should be falling off the bone. Not even close. He was I was like, what is happening? He put that thing on my plate, took a nibble, no salt, no nothing.
Oh.
I can't believe you wasted a rack of lamb like so. So now I was always told when you got to take a bite of your food before you salt, because I'm a judgmental person. I always immediately salt when I know potentially that person didn't salt their food or didn't season it. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be judgmental because of what they say. They say if you start to season your food or salt and pepper the food before you taste it, you're known to be a judgmental person. So I was like, I don't want to be that person. So I took a bite of that thing. Bland as it looked, I said, never again. Never again. So the fact that Z-Bot seasons his food, if he says, Rico, come over, hang out with me, I'm there because I know he seasons his food and I'll enjoy every morsel that's there. That being said, I know your lady's calling you for supper, so go ahead.
Well, no, we got a couple more super chats, so she'll have to hang on tight for a second. One of two things. One, the lamb, it was quite literally a sacrificial lamb in the worst way possible.
Yes.
I mean, butchering a lamb is that is just awful because how often do you have lamb? Not very often, and I love lamb. My aunt does it so well. You got to do it with like basil or
turn me off the lamb. Now I want to do lamb.
No, because lamb's great.
And I got a huge rack of lamb in my deep freezer. I'm waiting for the day that I get to do it. She inspired me. The minute she did that, I bought it. I was like, I'm on it. I'm on it.
That's such a bummer. I got this new seasoning. I don't know if you've heard of this one. I just got it the other day.
Yeah. Yo, Laura, you're a fool. Listen, Laura, if I get to meet you, girl, you're gonna get a big old hug from me, girl. Oh man,
I think Laura's going. I think Laura's going to the round table event.
I'm looking forward to it.
I do love lamb. I do love it. I love lamb.
I love
lamb's great. I got this new seasoning the other day though. It's butter pepper. It's yellow. It's pretty.
Costco?
It's different.
Costco?
Aldi.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just have random stuff. I got it. I really like it. It's different.
Cajun seasoning just can't go on everything. Although Cajun seasoning is great, you got to have a blend of a whole bunch of things. You can't just throw Cajun seasoning on it and call it a day.
But what did I tell you before we hopped on, though? Cajun, I'm all on the Cajun. Cajun almost on everything. Any seafood, chicken every time, you got to have Cajun on it. Every time. Beef, Cajun.
Bison meat. Never had that.
I don't know if I have either.
I'm sure it's gamey, but if you season it right, I'm sure it'll be great.
Well, if you like lamb, you got to probably like bison because lamb's super gamey.
Oh, then I look forward to it. I look forward to it. Super chats. You said we got some super chats to go in. And to let's see. My man Terrence says, "Your question is the wrong. Is it wrong?
I think he means the writing on the wall. Writing on the wall.
The writing, yeah. Is the writing on the wall for Balin Spector since they signed a linebacker? Absolutely, the writing's on the wall. Is it on the wall? No. Maybe I spoke too soon. There's definitely competition to be had. We know what we have in Balin Spector. Let's see if Shaq Thompson is healthy. If he's healthy, bye-bye Balin Spector, or we keep Balin and say bye-bye Eddie Ulufushio. But we may want to keep Eddie Ulufushio for special team purposes, but Balin is just as good. So it's tough for both those guys. When you bring a guy like Shaq Thompson, if he's good enough to be healthy and play, he'll be better than both those guys. So tough gig for those two guys. Tough gig. Richie's goes, situation like Cook is where you find out how serious they are about a Lombardi. Money matters, but look at Gabe Davis. Grass ain't always greener. Man, Gabe Davis is going through it, bro.
Yeah.
He's going through it, man. He's getting tossed all over the place. Saints, Steelers. I mean, shoot. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough,
it went from that performance in the AFC Championship where he was looking for top dollar to now this. It's unfortunate. I do feel bad for him how things have kind of panned out.
I feel bad. I actually feel bad for the guy. I was like, yo, and like if he could come back to Buffalo, I'm sure he would love to. But like, bro, we good over here, kid. We good over here, man. So tough for him. But listen, man, I hope he lands. I really do hope he lands. And if he lands with the Saints, maybe he reinvents himself out there. But we'll see how that plays out. Caroline says shrimp tacos have been done. So she's
ready to go.
She's ready to go. Caroline, the Buffalo's AAA affiliate as usual. Who's James Payne? James Payne, your boy? You know James Payne? You know
Carolina is no, I just know James for being a loyal viewer. What's he saying? Carolina is Buffalo's AAA. Oh, yeah. They're Buffalo's farm team, the Panthers. They have been ever since McDermott took over.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I mean, literally. He's basically saying that that's what they are. Like they're the Red Wings to the Twins, basically. The Rochester Red Wings to the Minnesota Twins, essentially.
The Carolina Buffalo Bills. Richie Fresh goes, yo, Bean throwing injured players at the wall to hope to stick. But my God, imagine Landon Jackson and Bosa healthy. You already know it's getting my monkey moving.
Rico or Richie, you dog.
Richie,
Richie, you dog.
Richie, a fool. My man James Payne says, "Hey, bot, looks like you've lost weight." Oh,
It's all those shrimp tacos. Shrimp tacos, the seasoning.
Yo, you losing the LBs on me or what?
Yeah. You know what's funny? I've been doing, because I have such bad stomach problems. I've actually been mostly doing meal replacements lately. Just a lot of shakes, and it wasn't even intentionally to lose weight, but more so to feel better. I have such bad stomach problems. Yeah, to the point where like I already have celiac disease, so I can't eat wheat. So no gluten, which means no bread, no pasta, no baked goods, any of that stuff. But even
you recently find this out, or have you known this for a long time?
No, I've had that since I was a freshman in high school. So probably 14, 15 years now.
Oh, you can't have a good chicken parm? Oh.
No, like it's stuff like that. That's always a bummer. I can't like just walk into a pizza shop and grab a slice.
You give me a guy that would love a pizza and that would love pasta.
Well, it's stuff like that that sucks. Like when you just walk into a place, you can't just grab something because most of the time it's not gluten-free. Like you can't just walk into a pizza shop, grab a pizza. If you go to McDonald's, you have to get a burger without the bun. It's no fun.
Bro, I couldn't even tell you what gluten-free is. When I see gluten-free, what the hell is that? I'm like, all right, whatever. Does it taste any different?
The gluten-free stuff? Oh, yeah. Like the pizza, you would know instantly. The baked goods?
Oh, okay. I would know immediately. Even the pizza sauce wouldn't even...
No, like you would know because the crust can't rise the way a normal pizza crust does. Like every gluten-free pizza is this thin. It's literally razor thin.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
So you would just know visually. But like it's funny, certain things don't matter. Like baked goods, I would argue 9 out of 10 times gluten-free baked goods for whatever reason are better than normal baked goods. I have no idea why, but like pasta, not nearly as good. But yeah, to the fasting thing. So it goes beyond the gluten for me. Like I struggle with any starch or carbs at all. So even though rice is gluten-free, if I eat a bowl of rice or a bowl of gluten-free pasta, I'm out of commission the rest of the day. So I've gone to GI doctors and gastroenterologists. Is that what they're called or whatever? I mean, I lose track anymore, but I've gone to so many of these different doctors and done so many different things, and they find nothing other than the celiac, which would, sound like a good thing 9 out of 10 times or 10 out of 10 times because you're not finding anything wrong. But in my case, I've often wanted to find something wrong so I could address.
You want
thing.
to. Yeah, no doubt.
I always thought I had Crohn's disease, but I don't. But anyway, long story short, I just have gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? This stuff makes me feel like ass. So I'm done with it. So I've cut out all carbs. So if I do eat like an actual meal, it'll only be meat. But what I've been doing for the last month or so is just almost primarily shakes. And I know it sucks, but I've honestly felt a hell of a lot better.
Can we do Arby's still?
Oh, we can do Arby's. We can take the bun off the roast beef. We can throw that on some fries. You know I'm not going to turn that down. A little horsey sauce.
Like that. Love it. My man said you can go plant-based. I would never go plant-based. That's
no. I'll feel like crap and put myself in an early grave before I go plant-based. There's no way I'm doing that.
What about fasting? Somebody said fasting. Would you do the fasting, the intermittent fasting?
So I do that. So I usually I wake up and I don't have a meal until probably 3 p.m. or on.
I should start doing that, man. Every time I say I'm gonna start doing something, I'm like, oh, that smells so good, man. Let me get some of that. My advice is the cookies, man. The cookies get me.
See, now that
warm chocolate chip cookie, game over.
And that's where being
chocolate chip cookies, game over, bro.
That's where being gluten-free, Rico, seriously, has probably saved me. I couldn't imagine where I'd be if I didn't have that diagnosis, because I have no self-control in that regard.
You do everything.
Oh, yeah. Like if I did have the ability to just pull up to Wendy's or pull up to the pizza shop and go nuts, I would. So honestly, I know it sounds like it sucks, and it does. It's probably one of the best things that's happened to me because I put on weight really easily, and I would easily go nuts if I could do it.
You're one of those guys that when he pulls up to the menu at the drive-thru, he's like, "Okay, gluten-free, sweet." They actually tell me what's gluten-free. Okay, yeah, I'll get that. Yep. That. That's awesome.
I love when they point it out because I hate, like, if the waiter comes up and says, does anybody have food allergies? I won't say anything. I hate doing that. But Caroline loves doing that. So she'll do it.
He does.
In lieu of it. Yeah, she loves letting them know. Loves it.
Love it. And you're like, babe, you're embarrassing me. Shut up and eat that.
I won't say anything, but then when they leave, I'll be like, you didn't have to say anything. But 9 out of 10 times, I'm glad she said something because it usually winds up paying off.
My man Richie says, Bot, there's a ton of GF options if you're near Wegmans.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
To have your mind blown. I go gluten-free and dairy-free. It's a game changer. By the way, you need GI map test from Functional Doc. It changed me. Yo, you should be taking this advice, brother. Unless you already know this, obviously.
So I've done all that. Oh yeah, I've done all that. I was just at a gastro like a month ago. Cause I remember. Do you remember draft weekend when I got insanely sick out of nowhere?
Yeah.
That was when I went. That was when I went because I had eaten just a normal meal and dude, like I was bedridden that entire weekend. Like I was so excited for the draft and put all that work in to get ready for it. And I literally couldn't get out of bed. And it was for no other reason other than just had a meal and it just shut me down. So that's when I went. Bro. And they basically told me, it could be, do you drink a lot of zero sugar drinks? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, it could be that. And I'm like, I don't want to insult. Like, I know you're a doctor, but I feel a lot different between having a Diet Coke and eating a bowl of rice. I know what it does to my body, and it's certainly not the same.
I certainly get it. My man Kyle Thompson says, yo, Rico, have you ever tried those mint chocolate Girl Guide cookies? If we get those ever, I got to get the wife to hide box or they will be gone in one night. First of all, you're diabolical for eating chocolate mint Girl Guide cookies.
You don't like the Thin Mints?
The mint and chocolate together?
Oh, come on. Grow up.
Give me the regular Girl Guide cookies. We straight.
So you don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream?
Hell no, I don't know chocolate. I don't want to be, eating something super sweet and minty at the same time. No, not interested. Go sit on a cactus for that. Not doing that. You need to teach their own. Everybody eats weird. I mean, I don't want to call it weird. But you know what I mean? But everybody has different tastes and stuff. The mint, I don't know. Couldn't do it for me. Couldn't do it.
I like the mint. I'm a mint guy.
Yeah, he said that's sinister. You're right.
Well, it's funny. Some people say it tastes like toothpaste. It's almost like it's an acquired taste.
It's like someone telling me to have Splenda. Oh, we don't have sugar, but you can have Splenda. What? Ugh. No,
I'm all in. I love the Splenda, and I know, I love it. BPB saying diet sodas are more harmful. I know it. The one thing I won't listen to is that. I love the diet soda. It's my one poison that I choose to sign up for willingly. I just love it. I love it.
You're wild, bro.
If I leave the house, there's a 99% chance I'm going to McDonald's and getting the Diet Coke. 99% chance.
Well, good for you that you found the stuff that is like gluten-free that tells you that. Good for everybody. My man Brian Burr says, Brian goes, nah, bro, mint is for the refreshing of your breath, not for consumption. Exactly. I don't want to be
BB, you're bugging.
And I'm like, smells great, doesn't it? No.
So you don't like, so we ruled out the ice cream, but you don't like, well, what's another one? I'm trying to
I didn't finish that dinner. I took a bite and I said, oh, my, you know what? I ate her already, but do you mind if I take this?
Oh, so you didn't even do the courtesy of letting her feel like she did a good job.
No, absolutely not. And she was a wicked woman at the same time. She was not nice to my wife. I was not going to be nice to her. We were just being there for courtesy. She was not nice. My wife dealt with a lot. Jenna can deal with a whole lot. She could not stand that lady, and it was over with. Not happening. No. So I didn't want to give her the time of day to like, oh my God, it's so great. Did you do this? I can play the game. I didn't have the time to play all that game. I didn't want to do it. My man said, drink your water, my G. No.
They're coming for me. Everybody does. I got so many people that I know.
Yeah, but Brian Bowers is Mr. In Shape, man. He's Mr. In Shape, so he's gonna tell you.
I know. Well, he's dead on.
We all gotta drink some water. Man. That's what it comes down to.
We're gonna have to wait because Coke's coming out with look it up. It's coming out soon. I can't wait. Vintage formula, throwback diet cherry Coke. I'm going to be waiting for that release like an iPhone drop when that comes out in a couple of weeks because I love cherry Coke, but I'm not a huge Coke Zero guy. I'm only a Diet Coke guy. So I know I'm probably talking to a wall here, but I'm going to have to retire after that.
They're coming for me.
I know.
They're coming for me. Well, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that we didn't take you too far off the map when it comes to Bills talk. But I mean, sometimes It's the off season. There's not a whole lot. I mean, minicamp just started, so we're about to start to get into the football chat. But I mean, we're still in the off season. You know how it is. And then we go through that whole drought of, having to really, think about things to talk before actual camp starts at John Fisher. So you already know what time it is, man. But that being said, if you guys enjoyed this show, do us a favor, smash that like. Let's get this video up to 250 likes, man. That's light work. Light work. That's light, man. 250 likes. Let's get it up there, and let's get this thing cracking. Bot, you got anything else to share with the people?
Well over 1,100 of you rocking with us on a Tuesday night. Mini camp day 1 in the books, and we appreciate you coming out and talking about it with us for 2.5 hours. Much love to every single one of you. Chat was popping off tonight. You guys are the best, and we look forward to continuing down the path towards football here. Less than 90 days away from kick, and you guys make it go a lot faster. So much love to each and every one of you. Rico?
Much love to you guys. I told myself that June 1st was gonna be my first day. I was gonna start really getting back into getting shape and trying to work out. We are now June 10th. I'm 10 days behind. I gotta get my act together. All this talking we're doing. Listen, I'm gonna bounce about 50 push-ups just to get myself back into it. Get your boy back in shape. But other than that,
what they say, it's the 11th of the month, Rico. The 11th of the month is when everything starts.
I like that. Let's do it.
Oh, man. All right. Hey, everybody. Much love as always. Talk soon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.